It is 8:31, so we are late and our posture stinks, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. First up for this budget discussion is the auditor's office, Michelle Scaff. Item A, improvement requests.
Chairman, I just want to, all the improvement requests are included in the budget. So if you don't approve them, I'll have to take them out.
Okay. So
But
the
when we
improvement
see
requests-
the actual budgets presented, they will have them included the cost.
Okay.
Okay, I do have an item for you to receive if you would like.
Move to receive.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Dietrich. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0.
Okay, so what you're looking at here is basically the configuration of the auditor and recorder's office. So at the top, you'll see the elected position of auditor recorder, myself. We have deputy real estate recorder, which is Diane Swoboda Peterson right over here. She's probably been here longer than almost any county employee, few exceptions. And then we have Steve, it's the deputy commissioner of elections, and we have Shona. She's up there, deputy auditor, so I asked her to kind of work the cameras while I'm presenting our budgets. So you all know them pretty well, but under each of them, Shona is in charge of 2 clerk 3s. That's the finance and payroll area. Shona also does sections of real estate, which is producing the tax roll, valuations, which I haven't quite turned everything over to her yet because of the workload that she already has. She's in charge of end of year reports and so forth. Deputy Commissioner of Elections, Steve, has 1 clerk 3 and 1 clerk 2 in elections. And of course, when we have an election, we have a lot of temporary individuals that come in and work the elections, and we have PEOs that work on election day and so forth. And then Diane, she does a lot of the real estate also. So she does what splits and combinations of parcels, reads the legals, does a lot of the drainage, and all of that is part of the real estate functions. And she's also the deputy recorder, which is in charge of the vitals and the recorders where all of the documents are filed. So you can see there's 3 sections under her area. She's got 2 clerk 3s, 1 clerk 3 is in the vital side in charge of 2 clerk 2s. Ultimately Diane's in charge, but if she's gone, then that person would be the supervisor. Then we have a clerk 3 and 2 clerk 2s in the recorder side. And then on the real estate side, we have a GIS analyst, which is the person that actually draws out the mapping when there's new parcels created and so forth, and a clerk 2 that is in the real estate side that works with the deeds and the plats and all of that information. So with my improvement request, if you look at the second page on your document, sorry, I'm starting to come down with a little something, so it picked just the perfect day for me to start losing my voice. So the proposed here, if you see kind of the lighter blue colors, those are all the positions that would change, and I probably should have highlighted myself and Shona as well, because if you were following in that first section, you can see that the real estate section is really spread out everywhere. Shona does some of it, I do some of it, Diane does some of it, her staff does some of it. So what I'm proposing is that we create a deputy of the real estate that would assume all of those positions and take those away from Shona and Diane so that they can focus on what their area of the office most predominantly is. So that kind of bluey green color deputy real estate would be kind of its own section. We would move the GIS analyst to that area of the auditor's office. And then we'd split the clerk 2 into 2 positions. They'd be cross-trained on elections. 50% of their pay would be from the real estate, 50% would be from elections. And the reason for that is some of the duties of that clerk have been minimized because of going electronic on a lot of things, so she doesn't have to do so much with the books as she used to. And so that position would be better used to help with elections during the busy times of elections. Are you hearing feedback?
No. Very good.
Okay, it just sounds different. So that position would be better utilized to help out on elections, and then that might help us when we have temps. We may not need to have as many temps come in when the elections are occurring. So that's my proposal of having a department that is called the real estate department that would be on the auditor's side instead of the recorder's side. If you look at the auditors across the state, the real estate sections are in the auditors and not in the recorders. Since we have an elected auditor recorder, we're unique in that, you know, we can kind of work with both sides. And so that's, in the past, they used to have a deputy of real estate and a deputy recorder, and they combined those into what is now Diane's position. So the other part of my improvement request is, as you see in the section under the deputy recorder, is that we have the existing 2 clerk 3s, and we would make the 4 clerk 2s to be senior clerks. And the justification of that is that they would be cross-trained on vitals and recorders so that they can all serve the public in the same way. So 1 month they would work records, 1 month they would work vitals, and they would all be trained on both sides, so they'd have higher responsibilities. The supervisors all already in the show that they supervise recorder and their backup supervisor for vitals, and vice versa. So they're already, in their job description is written as being cross-trained. So they would still be able to supervise those individuals. So there's basically 4 improvement requests on here, and I think it would be good to look at them each individually, unless you want to just say you want to approve them all. But I do want to give you a few more bits of information. So if you could go to the prior screen, the auditor's office comparisons. Okay, so this page, I called the 3 counties larger than us and the 3 counties smaller than us to try to stick within counties that are comparable size. So this first page is going to show you just the auditor side of the office and the staffing that the counties have. And if you look at the total FTE column, you can see that we are the lowest by far on all of the counties of staffing in the auditor's office. Even lower, way lower than the 3 counties that are smaller than us. So we are understaffed in size of the population that we're serving on the auditor side. And in these stats, I did include the real estate section, and I did not include the deputy of real estate that I'm proposing. So the next page will show you the recorder's office comparisons. And this one, I think we're more in line to where we are for population as far as the staffing within the office. And this does not include the real estate side. This is just the deputy recorder, the vitals, and the records individuals. And then the last page I just wanted to show, and this might come into play when you're looking at our budgets, is I looked at the fiscal year 26 budgets, and I just compared all of the different, what we call functions. The first 2 are elections. We have the administration elections, local elections. The recording of documents would be the vitals and the recorders. The 90-10 is going to include the accounts payable and payroll, and then the total. And if you look at those numbers, and I have it sorted by size of the county, you can see that our budget is actually in 6th place compared to all of these others. So we are under budget, which is great. You know, I don't want to propose to increase our budget drastically, but I think that we do need additional help in the office, and this is a great way to do it.
Is this saying we're the 4th largest county?
No, in my stats, we're the 4th, because I didn't include the first 3. I didn't include Polk, Lynn, and...
this is comparables.
Yeah, I compared the 3 larger counties to us and the 3 lesser
Okay.
lesser large. So I didn't want to compare the largest because I didn't think that really was fitting.
It would just skew it even more, actually.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure that they have a lot more people. So that's what I did for comparing, and I just I didn't want to start at number 4. It just seemed weird, so do you have any questions or about the information presented?
So have the folks on YouTube seen this whole packet then, since it's been on our screen? Oh, okay, great. The only comment I'll make is that I wish I could have seen this flow chart when I was a brand-new supervisor. It took me years to learn this.
Well, I was an auditor then.
So it's an addition of one, what you would call a deputy of real estate, and then changing of 4 clerk twos to senior clerks. So it's one.
Five, because
five,
the
okay, sorry, I
deputy
didn't
of
see
real
this
estate would be
Yep.
changed to a senior clerk that would be split between elections. So if you look at the actual improvement request document that I submitted, I think that's in the backup material.
Yep.
I think I have it in the same order. The first, and everything, well, some of the other hinge on this is that deputy of real estate. That I propose to be at 70% of my salary as a deputy for the first 6 months, and then, depending on job performance after 6 months, we've budgeted in an increase of to 75%. And then that would be a financial impact. We budget the benefits with the family coverage of health insurance, which a lot of times,
Sure.
it's all, we just budgeted the highest possibility. So it's 127,359. The second improvement request would be dependent on this deputy being approved, and that would be to split the clerk 2 that's currently in the real estate side in the recorders to a 50% elections and 50% real estate position, so they can assist with elections. And the cost to change from a clerk 2 to a senior clerk, and I based it on individuals within my office, because it all depends on what step everyone is at, on what that financial impact would be. That would be $5,153.68. So that is the cost per clerk 2 to senior clerk in my office. And I believe all of the staff is maxed out as the highest step within their grade, correct? So that would be, they would go to a senior clerk, I think it's step 4, so they'd have one more step that they can move up afterwards, the way that the contract reads. So that is the second request. The third
Michelle,
request.
did you say 5,000 per employee or total?
Per employee,
Okay.
per clerk 2 to
So the
senior clerk.
51, 53 is per, okay.
Yes. The next improvement request has no financial impact. That's just a GL line change. It's all in the same fund. It's the general fund that this affects for that part. Back to the 50% elections, that would shift 50% of that pay to the general supplemental fund. The GIS individual would move to a different function, which would move from the real estate or the recorder function to the administration function, which is, if you read the Iowa Chart of Accounts, it's more fitting to have it within that 9011 is a new function that we're calling it, since it's kind of a new division there. And then the last improvement request is, this is an independent one, so these first 3 kind of go together. This one is an independent one, and this would be to change the clerk 2 recorders. There's 2 clerk 2 recorders and 2 clerk 2 vitals individuals, to merge those to be a recorder vitals senior clerk, so all 4 would be paid at the senior grade, and that's $5,153 each for a total of $20,614.
And the total for all these requests are 127,000?
No, I didn't add them up.
Oh, okay.
I looked at them individually, I'm sorry. Do you have a total, Ryan? It's different lines that it affects, and you'll see them embedded in the budgets.
The total would be 153,000. It's on, we'll say this sheet,
Oh, okay.
and it's the one line item called improvement requests.
What's the total there, Ryan? 153?
153, 128.
Okay, thank you. So $153,128 would encompass all of these improvement requests, including the added deputy of real estate.
That sounds about right.
Okay.
So the main difference between, like, for example, a clerk 2 and 3 is pay scale, right? It's not necessarily dependent upon experience with Woodbury County.
No, it's all based on the position. I think Melissa, oh, she left. I think Melissa probably could explain it, but the grades are based on position. So within the contract, it says this position gets paid this grade. All of my staff is kind of stuck where they're at, and so it goes clerk 2, and then senior clerk is a higher grade, and then clerk 3 is the highest. So the clerk 3s would make more than the senior. It kind of in your head doesn't make sense, but that's the way it is.
And the seniors and clerk 3s need to have more in their job description to justify not being a clerk 2, or is it?
That's my understanding, is that by creating a position that has more responsibilities will cause them to have a higher grade. And I'd like to see them all be able to get paid more, but we're kind of tied within the union confines.
But if you're wanting to promote a lot of these clerk 2s, then you see the ability to increase responsibilities in a job description.
The responsibility is that they're having 2 positions that, right now, they only work 1. They only work the recorder side. So now they'll be working both vitals and recorder. So that's the increase in responsibility, is they have to learn both jobs, and they have to work both jobs. And the same as the individual that would be elections, she's gonna have to learn the election side. So the responsibilities are increasing. I talked to Melissa, and yes, this would have to go to the union once the job descriptions are written. Funding first, job descriptions, and union approval, so.
Yeah, this is just the interesting part of when we talk about, like, we're gonna snap our fingers and have employees cross-train. We kind of run up against, well, they need to have it written in, they need a higher grade, they need a higher position to basically, provoke that. It's not so easy just to say, you need to cross-train. So, it works for like I'm talking to the board now, it works for an office like this where there's different silos already, so to speak, but it's more difficult for ones that have more of a uniform mission, because you can't cross-train within, if you're already doing that. Could you talk more about the cross-training, I guess, benefit for the
Well,
county?
I'll tell you what, the biggest benefit is time off. Right now, it's difficult to allow, 2 individuals to be off on one side because they have to have the staffing to serve the public. If everybody's trained on both areas, then we can allow people to have time off and not have to say, we have you people here and you people here. And, we may have enough people, but we don't have them working on the right side to allow time off. All of the individuals have been in the office for quite some time. I have great staff. They've been here. They're very dedicated. And they're probably, the majority of them are maxed out at 5 weeks of vacation a year. It's a lot of vacation to cover to allow people to have that time off, but then we have to think about the staffing and the service to the public that we need to provide.
Are you worried about having no clerk 2s when you need to hire a new employee and instantly cross-train?
No. It'll be the job. It's the job that they'll be trained in.
The other thing I like about it is that it does, Diane does a great job, and you've been here a long time, but that's not always gonna be the case, right? I'm sure you hope to retire at some point. But she runs a very big department, and so to kind of segment that out a little bit, especially when the real estate's doing something different, we get someone new at real estate, and Diane decides to leave us hopefully in like 20 years or something. Yeah, 8, okay. But then it's not as big of shoes to fill versus now,
Yes. Yes, and that's huge to have that transfer of information
And when you're
in a
when you're
long period of
understaffed
time.
compared to other places, then the position or something to bring someone on, but this would be another way you could do it too, and then alleviate some of the workload. For that senior clerk that would work with real estate and elections 50/50, you think that it would eliminate some temps from the election side?
It's potential, because during an election, you know, even at the city school elections, we had 1 to 2 temps in the office for a period of 1 to 3 months. And if you look at a presidential election, I don't know if Steve knows how many temps they had, but there's a 3-month period that we have temps permanently in the office, helping answer phones, helping with the iVoter system, with people that are coming in. And it's a pretty long stint of time. We're still gonna need temps, but I do believe that we may be able to reduce it by 1 at least.
With temps, I'm sure, is there sometimes some retraining and stuff that you have to do, whereas if you had more of a part-time permanent employee, that would be more of a benefit in that regard? You wouldn't have to train or get temps up to speed? Yeah, sorry, Steve.
So we've been fortunate in the temps that we have been using. They've been ones that we've been able to use over and over again, because they're either retired or, you know, don't have a job at all. So, we've been fortunate in that, but like what you're saying, yeah, if we have to get new people that are temps, then we have to go through a training period with them just to get them up to speed to help us out as well, so.
Okay.
Having somebody that's already trained and as a full-time employee would be a benefit there.
Are clerk threes automatically, are they cross-trained and everything like under the vitals recorder and real estate? Because, you know, from the first page to the second page, they stay clerk threes and they just get grouped under like vitals recorder.
Right, and that was because I couldn't see segregating them and having everybody else together. And because their job description does say, you know, that they are the secondary supervisor to the other side, I just thought it could fit either way.
So they're cross-trained in everything basically anyway.
Well, the intent is that they will be, yes.
Okay.
The one thing I do need more explanation on is the creation of the new appointed deputy, because that's a big decision. You know, they're tied to your wage,
Yes.
obviously. If we're consolidating these 3 departments, roles, why do we need a 4th appointed deputy if we're already consolidating what's a combined department?
The deputy would be assuming, okay, so right now, with new legislation, if I just talk about Shona's position, we have new overtime rules that we have to implement every payroll, that we have to manually calculate out true FLSA overtime so that we can be prepared for W-2s. We have ACA forms that they keep saying might go away, but they haven't. It's a very intensive process at the end of the year. At the same time that new regulations come out and end of year requirements for what Shona has to provide for all of our staff, we have to prepare valuations for the tax roll. You can ask Ryan, you could ask Dennis if he were here. It's always like, do you have the valuations ready? Do you have the valuations ready? And I'm always like, well, what do you want me to do first, payroll, budget, or valuations? I can only do one thing at a time. When I was deputy, it was very hard to do everything. And then when the tax roll comes out, that's in July. And same thing, we have the audit, we have the fiscal end of the year, the same time that we're producing the tax roll. Then I have the treasurer, when are you gonna send me the tax roll? When are you gonna send me the tax roll? It always gets done on time, but it's a heavy load. And I think that it needs to be given to another individual so that we can be more efficient with our time of what we do have to do. And I think, I don't wanna say that mistakes get made, but the more things that you have on your plate, the more chance there is for mistakes to be made. And I just think it'll work better. Diane is, like you mentioned, she's gonna retire someday. It's a great time to have somebody trained with what she does. She's the only one that does this stuff. And when she leaves, it's gonna be a big loss for us. We're gonna miss her greatly because she does a good job, and it's just a good way to transition a position, to have somebody that can do all of the stuff that kind of we're struggling and trying to always catch up to get it done. You can talk to the assessors. We have splits that happen that have to be done by Diane, and then they go through a whole process through the assessor and then back to the auditor to make a split. And a lot of times those kind of get backlogged. So this will help with that a lot.
So the other three deputies, are they all maxed at 85%?
Yes.
Okay.
And this deputy cannot go to 85%. I haven't looked specifically, but I believe I can have two, commissioner of election by code can be 85. I can have one, which is Shona, and then Diane is 85 on the recorder side. So the real estate would not be able to go any more than 80.
This is maybe a question for Diane, but it seems like in the last year versus when I first got on the board, we've done a lot more subdivisions and rezones. It seems like it used to be maybe once a month or every other month, and now it's almost every other week. Are you seeing that on your workload, or is there more work that the real estate side of your office is doing with a lot of these subdivisions and rezones than years past?
Yes.
What is that workload picking up?
Yes, we probably have 20 subdivision names approved that are sitting out there that could be recorded at any time. I mean, not any time, but after you guys approve it and stuff, they could. So, yeah, and those come in, and then, you know, like Michelle said, that starts the split process, and it goes all the way through the system. I think another thing about the real estate, hiring a real estate deputy now, or July 1st, that would give me a year through the whole tax cycle to work with that person, because I'm not saying anybody couldn't step in and take my shoes, anybody, you know, you're not irreplaceable, I understand that, but it would help that person to understand how that whole system works through the taxation. You have ditches coming in this spring, you have the summer, you have the taxes coming through, and then we start a whole other split cycle again in the fall. And it would give that person a whole year to get some information, to get how the process all works. I think it's a very good decision to hire somebody for the real estate part of it. The recorder part of it and the other administrative part of the recorder's office can certainly be taught also. But that real estate is really a big part. What Shona does is huge. I don't even know what Shona does. I don't want to know what you do, but I know. Enough, thank you. But it's like, yeah. So I think that'll be good, because my plan is to leave at the end of July in 2027. So, I mean, I've been very honest with Michelle, told her at the very beginning, you know, and she talked about bringing, so I said, you know, if you give me a year, I can show them what to do. I can show them the whole thing. We have very good relationship in that office. That staff is top notch. They've been there for a long time. They show up, they work, they really don't complain. They just, and I'm just gonna put a pitch in there for them. They all deserve more money, end of story. And this is the way that Michelle has come about for them, and she's explained it to them. So I think hiring the deputy now would be an actual wonderful decision. Otherwise, you're gonna maybe file yourself in a pile of mess here if you don't. Unless you find somebody, you know, like me, but, you know, just saying.
Thank you.
I'm not necessarily asking Melissa for you to come up and, you know, give a huge, you know, summary, but if there's anything we should keep in mind with all of these improvement requests in regards to these clerk positions that hasn't been stated that you think is helpful for the board to keep in mind, please let us know.
Just real quickly, I just, with these requests, then what I would ask the department head to do is to create a job description, and then we will submit that to the union and see if they agree with the pay scale that they're requesting. And so then, as we did last year, we had a meeting with the union, you know, to get their thoughts, because they are the ones that kind of decide what levels the clerks are being paid at. Or, well, obviously you are, but they have to agree within the contracts. And then as if they are creating a whole new position, like not just a clerk two or a senior clerk, a whole new position within the union, that would be an MOU of the contract. So I just want to keep that in mind too, so.
Thanks.
Is the latter the case here? No, okay. Is the cart before the horse here then? Do we need to do some more? Do we need to reach out, or is it safe to move forward with the assumptions?
Are these all going to be voted on at the same time? Because then I could just have one meeting with the union with all the different department requests.
Well, it seems like the first three are a package, and the fourth,
for the entire county.
Oh,
So
right.
there'd be like, well, the engineers would go through the CWA. And so theirs would go through AFSME.
Yeah, in
Yes, I
my,
could start working on that. I'll get,
yeah, if there's other improvement requests that have to do with clerks and rewriting job descriptions, it would be more efficient to have that conversation with the unions at once rather than piecemeal.
Yeah.
okay. Sounds good.
Any other questions for Auditor Scaff?
I don't have any questions for you, Auditor, but I guess how should we go about this sort of improvement request where it's contingent upon some approvals? Should we, signal our intentions and remove them all until we get actual confirmation and approval? Should we, in that way, it would be a, we would know how much the increase would be after we get these approvals. I mean, I'm not, if we did take it out today, I wouldn't be saying no. In fact, I'm probably supportive.
Can I input on that thought?
Sure.
So if you take it out and we do our max levy is due by March 6th, that we have to send our notice out and it's not in there, then it won't be included. You can always take things out afterwards, as you've heard over and over again.
I forgot the state's meddling in our budget
Yes.
process. Scratch what I said.
Well, yeah, I think last year, if you guys remember, I like, Matthew, what you're saying. Last year, I think we received everything.
Yes,
Because of
we
the
did.
mailer, and then we went back and the board removed or approved the actual positions, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would still want to remove things that the board is definitely not supportive of before
Correct.
the mailing, but
Right.
yeah,
agreed.
that's the reality right now is we have to be,
I would be,
approving everything.
I would be supportive of this. Yeah, I think given that mailing, I think we should move to receive today, and then, but I agree, Matthew, if there's things that we don't want, then we take
Yeah.
them out. So,
Correct. I'd be in agreement with these improvement requests.
all right, well, I would move to receive.
Are we, just for A?
Yeah, just
Yeah, for A, yep.
Okay, second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Ung. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. All right, item B from the Recorder, Fund 8110, General Basic.
Okay, so, the Recorder's Fund, Diane and I have went through this together, and there are a couple of things that I'd like to bring to your attention. So you will see the improvement request embedded within here. That's a reduction of $164,288. I'm not sure, I'm looking at different things than you, but do you have that on there? Okay, it's at the bottom, okay.
These are sorted by size of the, budgeted amount.
Okay.
That's really a reclass.
Okay, so, so the items that have changed more than, say, 3%, hospitalization went up. You're gonna see that on a lot of budgets. If one employee changed from our former family coverage to the current family coverage, you're gonna see a $9,000 increase on hospitalization just for one individual. So you're probably gonna see a lot of budgets that line really fluctuates from what it was last year. We've moved on stationery and forms, which is a reduction of 600, but you'll see that was moved to a contract. That's our agreement for water, and that was just being spent and budgeted out of the incorrect line. I guess. Last year, we did take some conferences out just to help with the budget, so you're gonna see an increase in mileage, travel expenses, and meals because we did put those back in the budget for the PREA conference. I think we took one PREA conference out last year that Diane attends, and you know the award that she won and how important that is for the recorders individuals. We do have a line for machinery and equipment that increased by 10,246. And what that includes is we had carpeting in the recorder's office from a past CIP, but they didn't replace the fatigue rugs and the rugs that are in front of the counter where the most traffic is. And so we talked to Kenny, and we have a quote for rugs that would have the county logo, like at the front entrance in front of there. And this also includes 2 ceiling fans for the vault area, and a copier machine. The copier machine is over 10 years old, and it's kind of on its last legs. So that's what that improvement, or that's what the office equipment includes. And just, those are the expenses. Do you have any questions about expenses? Then I want to talk a little about the revenues.
Go ahead on the revenues, I guess. You can go ahead on the revenues, I
Okay.
guess, yeah.
So there's a reimbursement I just wanted to bring about that GIS analyst that I mentioned that is in the real estate side of the office. They're funded, 3/4 of their funding comes from partially from the Sioux City, partially from the county assessor, and partially from the city assessor. So that's what that revenue is, just so that you're aware that that employee is actually funded by 4 authorities. We're the 4th one. Diane and I yesterday looked at the stats and the recording of instruments. We believe that we can increase that by $25,000. So if you want to increase that revenue by $25,000, and we just looked at based on what the current amounts show that we've received in that line. So we believe it'll be safe to budget a total of $325,000. The real estate transfer tax, we believe we can increase that revenue by $10,000 based on what we currently have in there. So that will go up to $135,000 revenue.
Michelle, you said the recording of instruments would go up to 325? Because in here,
Yes.
am I misreading this? It's saying 350.
No, 350
I'm
was
sorry, I'm
last
sorry.
year.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong
Yeah,
number.
and
Sorry.
we may,
Thank you.
we're probably gonna hit that, but right
Right,
now,
gotcha.
we're comfortable with 325
Okay.
based on the historical data.
Okay. So
Okay,
25,000 for instruments and 10,000 increase in the real estate transfer.
Yep, and then if I go down to vital statistics, looking at that, we'd like to increase that by 5,000. So we're proposing an increase of $40,000 in revenue. So I'm showing the overall budget, if you consider the expenses versus the revenue, is $143,440 to fund the recorders and vitals office. And that's with the movement of the real estate out of that office, compared to last year at $254,646, which included the real estate within the office.
Any questions regarding recorder expenses or revenues? Then I would move to receive with the changes of an additional 25,000 added to, what is that,
You
instruments?
can just do a bulk increase of 40,000
Okay,
and we can
and
sort
do a bulk
lines.
increase of 40,000
In
to the
revenue.
revenue. Yep. Motion by Nelson, seconded by Ung. Any discussion? Sorry, Matthew. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. All right, Fund 9010, Auditor Administration. This is in the General Basic Fund.
Okay. Now, on this one, we did include in the improvement requests, adding the GIS and the deputy real estate into this budget. Okay. So you might want to know why the organized employees went up by 10,000. The reason for that is at the budget session last year, we had a vacant clerk 3 position. We budgeted it at step 1, but we hired an individual from another office, so she started at step 4. So she's at a higher step now. So that's why you see a difference in the organized employees, and that's going to carry through all of the benefits there. We did look at House File 718 and the cost of that, and we did move that to the appropriate line, so you're going to see a decrease in stationery and forms and an increase in publications and notices because we wanted to put that on the right line. If you look at the postage line, 41,200, I guess you don't have numbers up there, but the postage line, we budgeted 25,000, and that's what we've been budgeting for House File 718. This is going to be the 3rd year that we've sent out the notice. The first year we sent everything first class because if you remember, we had a very short turnaround and we had to just get those out, and we had no time to even look into anything about merging any data or doing any work with that. Now they've extended the time frame, so we're able to send it a lower postage rate. So I'm proposing to reduce this number by 18,000.
Reduce postage,
Reduce
18,000.
postage by 18,000. I feel very comfortable with that based on last year's cost of the postage.
Okay.
You're gonna here again see an increase in travel and meal because last year we took the Tyler Connect conference, which is our major financial software. We took that out of it and we're putting that back in for fiscal year 27, hoping that Shona can attend that conference. It's very beneficial for our finance software. So that's what you'll see in the School of Instruction and all of those travel and meal, so forth. Okay, and then we missed adding to the School of Instruction the cost of the conference, and it's $1,250. It's a pricey one, but it's worth it. So I would propose to increase that by $1,250 for the School of Instruction. We changed the travel, but we forgot to include the actual conference cost on that. So the overall expense change would be a reduction of $16,750.
And Michelle, just on the school of instruction, you're increasing it to 2,500? Because right now there is 1,250 in it.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. When your voice projected it, I was like, where's that voice coming from? It's a good improvement, isn't it? The mics.
It is, yes. So the grand total.
Okay, yeah, the grand total expenses and revenue, which I have township officers included in this, $430,494.17 compared to last year at $431,864. So we actually have decreased slightly.
Any other questions? So we need to move, I'll move to receive, but what's the amount again, Michelle?
A
430.
reduction of 16,750.
Reduction of 16,750.
In expenses.
So I'll move to receive with a reduction of $16,750 in expenses.
Second?
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Bittinger. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries 5-0. Item D, Fund 9011, Real Estate. This would be a new budget under General Basic.
This is where the improvement, the only thing in this right now is the improvement requests.
Oh, yeah, I don't have that. Yep, that is the total cost of that change. Personnel only,
And some of this was moved out of the recorder budget.
yes.
Yeah.
Second?
Motion by Ung, seconded by Bittinger. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, carries 5-0. Item E, Fund 8,000, Elections Administration. This is in the General Supplemental Fund.
Okay, so this pays for our basic, day-to-day elections supplies and everything that runs the office 365 days a year. So one item that I caught is in the hospitalization, even though told you you're going to see a lot of fluctuations, this one was a little too high for my comfort. So we looked into it and we had an error. So this can be reduced by $25,849. We accidentally had a family coverage on an individual and another coverage, so we can reduce it by that. You'll see the improvement request in here that moves that 50% clerk funds, the $48,934 on that. Postage and mailing went up a little bit, and that's because we have a business reply account at the post office that we've kind of been running a total in there, and we're low on funds, so we need to replenish that for our absentee return ballots and different things that come back to us. So we're just going to put $6,450 in there. In the travel expenses, again, travels and meals, we had taken out some nationwide conferences that are regarding elections, and so we're adding those back in. So you're going to see an increase in the travel, meals, and so forth. You'll see an increase in telephone expense because I think we kind of budgeted too low last year on that. Okay, and here's another one that maintenance contracts. We do need to increase maintenance contracts by 1,400, and that's for the ballot on demand. When we originally were talking about this during the budget entry time, we were only going to get one printer, and then we decided that we would need two so that we can, sufficiently use it in our office and at satellite locations and so forth. So that increases the annual cost by $1,400 for the contract, which is $2,800 that I had showed you on Tuesday. It just wasn't, we only put $1,400 in the budget on that. So I'd like to increase that by $1,400. And the office equipment line increased by $4,700, and that's because we need to buy 6 new scanners for elections so that they will be compatible with the software that we're using for the state. Our lease agreement went up for our printer, but another line I believe went down because we used to pay per copy on another line of $2,400, but now our lease agreement went up, but we're allowed more copies, so we shouldn't have to pay that $2,400 anymore. And then we discontinued one of our softwares. That's why our computer software went down. So basically, I'm asking for the budget to decrease expenses by $17,949, which will bring the total budget to $605,206. compared to last year at $518,272.
And again, some of that increase was from the tentative move out of the recorder budget.
Yes, bulk of it was from that.
I would move to receive with a reduction of expenses of $17,949. Motion by Nelson, seconded by Ung. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item
you.
F, 8,00001.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Sorry.
That's all right.
All of those, the only other one we have to talk about is 8,002 because there's no other elections. If you want to just, since they're on there as action items, if
Okay.
you want to just.
So for item F, I move to receive.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Dietrich. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item G, Fund 8002, Elections General. This is in the General Supplemental Fund.
Give me just a second here. Do you have a copy of that one, Steve? Because we were gonna change something, weren't we?
It doesn't have the payroll stuff in, but it's got
Okay.
the expenses.
I'm sorry, I closed my computer too soon. Give me just a second, but while we're waiting, I do just want to say that these guys are awesome. These guys do a great job. You know, they enter these budgets based on, you know, what everything that they do. And so I'm just kind of presenting it. I've worked with them one-on-one, and they do a great job, and all of the staff. And I did want to ask about the CIPs. Is there going to be a process, or is there going to be something, because I considered embedding some of the costs of my past CIP into the budget, but
Ryan wanted to get all this stuff for C before we moved on to the CIP requests. So, but we're thinking to process like last year.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we are on
Elections general, Fund
general
8002.
election. Okay, so during fiscal year '27, unless there's a special election, this is the only election that we know of at this time. The interesting thing about this one is you have to look at really 4 years ago or 2 years ago. 2 years ago was a presidential election, and it's kind of hard to compare that election to the one that's coming up. So it's kind of like you weigh out, okay, where do I want to go with this? So we left the overtime the same as it was 2 years ago. And if you want to look at some of these lines, the typing and printing, that's where we pay for the ballots out of. Office and legal, you know, that's legal requirements that we have to publish. Stationary forms, that's where I do a mailer that is done before the election to tell everybody where their precincts are. The postage and mailing, I did look at that, and I would like to reduce that line by 20,000. When we originally budgeted it, we based it on the presidential election, and it looked like there were a lot of mailings that went out that year. I'm only planning on doing one, so we can save on that line by 20,000. The mileage is actually the PEOs that we pay for their mileage when we do training for them. And the meals is election day. You know, everybody works from 6 in the morning until about 11 at night. So we supply them with food that day. Parking is for the PEOs, and telephones for hot spots for the election locations and for the PEOs. The non-billable temps is probably the line where you're gonna see some changes as far as if we have that 50% election staff, and I'd like to reduce that line by 20,000. We base that on the presidential election also, so I'd like to bring that down by 20,000. School of Instruction is when we train the PEOs, and election officials is election day PEO pay. So I would like to propose a $40,000 reduction in expenses, bringing the total to $237,094. And if you look at the presidential, it was $283,328 2 years ago. And then 4 years ago, it was 201. I'm kind of like hesitant on basing something on what happened 4 years ago because of, you know, everything going on with elections these days. Want to make sure everybody's amply trained and that we have the funding to do it.
I would move to receive with a $40,000 reduction in expenses.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Dietrich. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. All right. Fund 8010, election, city, school, general sup. And that's zeros, so I'll go ahead and move to receive.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Dietrich. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Fund 8011, election, special, general sup. And again, this one is zeros. No, it's a reduction?
Wait, this should be zero. Everything should be
Yeah.
zero.
And they're all zeros.
So
The only
Move to
thing-
receive.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Dietrich. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Fund 8013, elections for primary city and the general sup, and again, this one,
Zeros.
They're all zeros.
I'll move to receive.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Dietrich. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. And lastly, Fund 8020, township officers. This is in the rural basic. And again, is zeros, so I would move to receive.
Oh, wait, that
No.
one does have a budget. I'm sorry. I had that within my auditors. I think that it's broken out on there. That one has $8,000 budget, which is the same as last year.
Oh, so no increase or decrease.
Right.
Okay. I would still move to receive.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Dietrich. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
If-
same sign. Passes 5-0.
If I can just make a comment on the special elections, if there is a special elections, we normally do not budget, just to say if.
Sure.
So if there is one, then that would have to come out of reserves.
For sure.
Okay,
Thank you for the clarification on that.
yep.
All
Thank
right.
you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. All right, up next, the sheriff's office. Item A is Fund 1000, Uniform Patrol, and this is out of the General Basic Fund. Good morning.
Well, good morning.
There are fresh baked chocolate chip cookies up here for anybody who
no,
would like to have them.
I'll
so.
pass for now, but sounds good. So,
At the request of Karen, we thought we would bring the chocolate chip cookies here, so.
are we going through this as the packet, Ryan, that you have here?
Yeah, I'll just, the way I've got it organized is each, elected office and department has various functions inside of it. I've grouped them by function. And so we'll go through, the auditor and the sheriff, their offices go through several different funds. So I've grouped them by functions that, like uniform patrol is in general basic and rural basic.
Yep.
So I have this one as general basic rural patrol. And so then that's how it's organized, is by function inside each fund of each office or department.
Okay. Clear as mud.
Sure. And in years past, I think the budget analyst kind of led this, so I don't know how you want to proceed. If you guys want to ask questions as you're looking at stuff.
First of all, is there any feedback for you? Michelle was saying there's some feedback that you hear when you're speaking in there.
I'm not hearing it right now,
Okay,
Okay.
I
but
don't know. If it's a problem, maybe turn off one of the mics.
my hearing's not the greatest, so if it's there, I may not even hear it.
I have an overall question as you go through uniform patrol, since it's tied to item L, uniform patrol, rural basic. If you could also just give a summary of where we're at with the number of deputies that are assigned to rural basic versus supplemental. Maybe that's a Ryan question. And then, because that ties into what the board does sometimes, where we shift the deputy to or from rural taxation, and also to help us understand what the value, the cost benefit is for us to provide the patrol for the rural communities. I'm curious on what that,
Yeah, so I've
benefit
got
is.
Jennifer Beeson here with me as well, and Chief Deputy Todd Peterson here. So Jennifer, I don't know if you have that spelled out, written out.
There's 19 deputies in uniform patrol and 9 in rural. And to us, it doesn't matter if we want to move them around. They
19.
all work patrol.
19 in general and 9 out of rural, is that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So in the past, we've always just kind of let the budget analyst put them where they need them. We did, I think after the first year I was here, we did put people in the correct categories as far as whether they were in courthouse security or whether they were in invest or whatever. So we've tried to keep up with that, but. So,
So for and this might be more of a Ryan question too, but for the wage increases, what do we have plugged in for that?
It is a general 2% increase across, but on union positions, it would be based off of what their current step is, and so that's why, you know, some of them will be greater than the 2%, or, you know, so that's what is currently built in.
So that's why it shows for the organizers, 12%, because there's deputies moving up steps.
We did have one unfilled position when they were running the salary numbers. That unfilled position should have been in Invest, and it was put in Uniform Patrol.
Okay.
So you'll see Invest is down, what was it, 17%?
21%, and then the patrol was up,
Gotcha.
whatever, so it's
Kind of balanced.
that
Yeah.
wash.
Yeah. Wash.
Wash.
There you
yeah.
go. Yeah. Yeah, because if I see that, if you, just guessing what that position is worth, that would make a pretty big change here on this first one. So yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah. And then we're not really looking for any changes, increases, some minor stuff when it comes to vehicles and stuff like that later, but that's just, so as we go through each one of these.
And just, so I don't sound like a broken record, but every budget, the hospitalization line is going to be up approximately 30%. Some departments will be a little higher, some will be lower, but on average, it'll be about 30%.
Any questions for Chad or Ryan regarding uniform patrol?
Ryan, what's the ballpark cost on moving one deputy between the funds?
Is Melissa
They're
here?
budgeted for like a new deputy, what is it, around 110?
At the starting rate, it's about 110.
If you factor everything.
Okay.
Yeah, all in with benefits and everything.
All in, yep. Social Security, all the different taxes, IPERS, everything, health
Yeah.
insurance, the whole kit and caboodle. That's not their wage.
Yeah.
How many deputies do you think we have because we're serving the rural communities under these 2080 agreements you have, or we have with them?
Well, so the 2080 agreements we have, we're not being compensated for currently.
Right.
How many deputies does it take to service all the communities that are, it's hard to say. We're in the process now of kind of figuring out what that expense is to the sheriff's office. So a little foreshadowing to the communities. Captain Nate Sands and Lieutenant Cleveringa have been working on it for about a month or two. I believe we're the only county in 25 counties in northwest Iowa that doesn't charge the towns for the law enforcement work. But I don't know if I can give, off the top of my head, I can't give you a specific what that number would be. It's probably 2 or 3. So if you're looking at into the future, 2 would be 240, 3 is going to be, 360 or somewhere in there, or 220, 330. Value to the communities, I think that's a real conservative number. When we looked at, some counties are charging, I believe it was Sioux County. I can't remember. I didn't know we were going to be discussing this today, but Sioux County's making, and they're not making money, they're charging those towns fairly for the work that's being required, that the towns are obligated by code to have law enforcement. And their numbers are big. I think their tax base is different in some of their communities than what our town's tax bases would be. So we're trying to figure out a way to come up with a calculation that's not going to hurt anybody, but yet still be fair to the rest of the rural taxpayers.
Because it is the rural community's legal obligation.
The townships.
The townships
The
have a
townships
legal
are-
obligation.
Yeah, they're required by code to have law enforcement representation. And so in a lot of the small towns throughout Iowa, what they've done is it becomes financially not feasible for them to hire somebody full-time, to have a squad car, to have the maintenance, to pay the health insurance, and to do all that. So they contract with their sheriff's offices to fulfill that statutory obligation. And so my predecessor, the agreement that he made with the townships at the time was that they would do it, that the sheriff's office would do it for free. We've continued that to this point, but we're certainly looking at options.
And
Yeah, the only-
currently, we serve everyone except Sergeant Bluff and
Sioux City and Mobile.
Mobile. Yep.
Yes. So our plan moving forward would be if we, and again, the townships are hearing this for the first time, so I'm sorry if they're hearing it for the first time this way, but to open some dialogue and some conversations with the mayors sometime into the future. It was too close to budget time, so we weren't going to do it now. We'll have plenty of time to do it by the next budget year, to open some dialogues and figure out how we can come to some agreement on what we think, what services, will meet the statutory requirement. We'll probably have to get with the county attorney's office, figure out exactly what that is, what services they want. They only want to meet the minimums, if they want more, and then how we're going to charge for that, and then what we'll do with the funds. I have some thoughts, but we can discuss that when it's not just theory down the road.
Yeah. And just to be clear, I'm not necessarily advocating the change at this point. I just want to know what the value is, roughly, and thank you for all that detail.
Yeah, the difficult thing is almost every county calculates the value different. And so that's kind of why I tasked those guys to look at it, and we'll meet again here probably in the next month or two, and when the budgets are all set, and then we'll start having those conversations, some serious conversations. So I know I'm not going to be real popular for a while, but it's about fairness and what's best for all the taxpayers.
Well, we'll be in it together, Sheriff and the board, so.
Okay, all right, yeah. Well, I mean, because the bottom line is it's going to help our budget, for sure.
I'll move to receive.
Second.
Chairman, a quick question. Do we need to move that one position from uniform patrol to investigations, or?
I requested that. Did that get done? I think I did, but I didn't send you the reports because you had just, I should just.
Because it won't change the overall budget as a whole, but I just want to, if that's what we need to do, I'll
Do
reflect.
we know the total value of that? Because that's what we have to reduce it by, that.
But as I said, the sheriff's office as a whole would not
I don't
change
care
it.
either way.
It's the function though, so it will be different lines that it's on, so they approve it by each function. Right, because invest is a different function
Yes, it
than
is. That's
patrol.
why I'm asking.
We can come back to it if we don't know.
In what they have, is it changed?
No.
Invest is 1010.
Okay.
Probably hard to tell.
Because we can receive it as is, and then once I know the exact numbers, I can present that change.
Organized employees should be
Yeah.
up here.
Yeah, we can come back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't we go on to the next thing, and then if you guys can get the numbers, then we'll come back to receive that, once we have those numbers.
Okay. We will skip ahead to Fund 1002, Highway Safety Grant, also in the general basic.
And that's just grants, so I don't know what questions you might have.
Really, the only thing in this is some overtime, and is that a grant that, you know?
The state pays, and they reimburse us for overtime for deputies to go out and work on grant time and do traffic enforcement or alcohol,
Sure.
safety enforcement or whatever it might be.
I move to receive.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Ung. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Why don't we'll skip Fund 1010 since we're waiting to get that invest number. Sheriff, if that's all right with you?
Yep.
And we'll jump
Yes.
ahead to Fund 1013, which is the Drug Task Force in the General Basic Fund.
That is a similar where there's a, revenue to help pay with overtime.
Okay. I would move to receive.
Second?
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Bittenger. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, passes 5-0. Next, item E is 1050 Corrections and Jail, and this is in the General Basic Fund.
The comments I'll make on this one is the major changes is related to payroll. You can see the overall organized employees went up by 200,000, which is about 5%. Again, that's due to the 2% and then the steps.
Okay.
And then hospitalization, this went up by 189,000, which is about nearly 20%. And that's due to the new rates. And then the last really major increase would be, it was, maintenance contracts went up 10,000. And then the acting sergeants went up 31,000.
Must have had a promotion in the sergeants.
No, it's for the acting sergeants, so when a sergeant is off, it's a little different in the newer facility. In the old facility, one sergeant could really easily manage the entire facility, meaning booking and long-term. In the facility that we're in now, I think you've all toured it, if I'm not mistaken. In booking and intake and medical is kind of its own thing, and it's a beast in and of itself. It's probably, it's 5 times larger than our old intake and medical. And to get back to the sections takes time. So we no longer run a shift with one sergeant because there has to be somebody in charge in booking and intake and medical, and there has to be somebody in charge back in the section. So we're paying a lot more OIC pay, officer in charge pay, because we don't leave them short. We have to have somebody that's accountable to make a decision.
On your maintenance contracts, that was an increase of 10,000.
Yeah, but the increase in contracts, was that, refresh my memory? Motorola and Flex
Okay.
increase.
The Motorola Flex is actually in the admin section. That went up like 150,000.
Was it for Axon? Refer to notes. Oh, that's right. Our Lexipol. Lexipol is the service that we, thank you, is the service that we use for all of our policies and procedures. And we started implementing, using Lexipol to also manage our field training programs. So we have been training so many new people with retirements and stuff. We've been training deputies like we've never really trained before. And so the training sergeant suggested using Lexipol since we already use them for all of our policies and procedures. And that was the increase. So I think there's an increase both in the jail side and on the patrol side to cover that additional service that they provide for us. What it does is it makes it so much easier for our staff to manage that FTO program, because every day that somebody gets trained, they fill out these daily observation reports. And there's, I think, 22 categories that the deputy would be graded on. And this service basically is looking for any red flags or concerns. It also makes it easier for us to go back and pull data and look at things in case somebody's struggling, somebody needs to be let go. If there's, if they fight it and there's a court case later or something with civil service, it just gives us a lot more, a lot easier way to track and keep track of the trainees as they're going through that process on both sides. So this is for the correctional side though.
Okay. Any other questions for?
This is also, the revenue.
Yes.
You may want to discuss the,
Without getting into too much detail, I think the revenue on, I'm going to give you the line number.
25021.
25021 could probably stay at around 4.2 where it's at. The 25024
Okay.
should probably go to 2.3. And that gets us to 6.5.
Any questions?
that would be based on a 125 average daily inmate at the new rate.
Okay. All right, I would move to receive with the increase in revenue. What was that fund number again?
1.8 million.
Of 1.8 million.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Ung. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries 5-0. Do you have your number for that invest? Are we still working on it? You do? Okay, we'll go back then and we'll, before we get too far down, we'll go back to uniform patrol.
It was $134,746.91.
Seven.
134,746.91.
46, okay. I'll second what Chad said about poor hearing.
Don't forget that extra cent,
Yeah.
that extra penny.
Thank you. 134 was what was the cents?
91.
91.
Okay. We want to make sure we get the pennies in there.
Right. Put
All right.
90.
I know. Make it 90.
Now, do we have to, hasn't the federal government ruled out, or they're not making the pennies anymore?
Oh, yeah, so we'll round down to 90 cents. Okay, we'll round down to 90. Sorry, Chad, you're gonna have to come up with a penny somewhere.
That's right. I think
so.
I can
Okay.
cover it. I'll do my part.
I think if you walked around that big parking lot out there, you'd probably find one, so.
Sure I would.
All right, I would move to receive, with the reduction of $134,746.90.
In uniform patrol?
In uniform patrol, correct.
I'd second.
All right, motion by Nelson, seconded by Bittenger. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. All right, so then we're gonna go down to invest, which is Fund 1010 out of the General Basic Fund.
And, okay. And what was that number again, though? I didn't write it down.
134,746.90. Yeah, so we need to have, so with this fund, Chad, we would just need to do an increase, of that same number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
So I would move to receive with the increase of $134,746.90.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Dietrich. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. All right, item F, Fund 1060, Administration, and this is in the General Basic Fund.
Yeah, this is where the major increase is the Motorola Flex contract. And previously, that had been paid for with ARPA funds. So that's why now it, is an annual maintenance and it needs to be part of the budget.
And that was for what again?
the records management system.
That might have even been before my time, or maybe it wasn't, I don't remember when we.
That's right, the Flex is the Motorola. Yeah.
Okay, it's too many things.
And that's our portion of it.
Yeah.
I think we pay, city pays, I believe Sergeant Bluff pays. I don't
Oh,
remember
that's
what-
right,
I don't remember
okay.
what percentages
I remember
those
that
are.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other, major increase was again hospitalization. I said I wasn't gonna sound like a broken record, but I already am.
You just need to have a button on the computer that it just says it. You just push it.
Yeah. Yeah, can you record yourself saying that and just hit the?
We'll do that during the lunch break.
Yeah.
I see the increase in arms and ammunition, and we might just have to get the guys the equipment, they can just start loading their own shells out there.
No, we don't want that. We don't want that. We want to make sure it's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of that's because of the new hires. We've got to get, we got
sure.
to get them spun up when they first get here. And
Yeah.
regardless of whether they even, a lot of our new deputy hires have been, had prior experience, but we still treat every new hire exactly the same, whether they've come with, prior law enforcement experience or not. So, and we spend a fair amount of time with them at the range, in that first 2 or 3 weeks, so.
Do we get any discounts? 'Cause do we buy in bulk?
I'm sure we do, yeah, because we buy in heavy bulk.
Yeah, okay.
I think our purchase is usually about once a year, right? Maybe twice a year. And, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely not paying what you and I.
You're
pay.
not going to Shields?
When you and I go to Shields and buy it off the shelf, we're not paying that.
Could the supervisors get on that discount? Shooting their family?
No.
Just kidding.
I know
Just
you are.
kidding. It was a joke.
Move to appoint all of us percentage deputies.
Well, you can become reserves.
Yeah,
There we go, yeah.
yeah. I see your.
Is that why you're not running again, Matthew?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
you're
no.
joining the sheriff's
Yeah, he's
office?
gonna.
So all of
apply-
us
he's
need to
gonna
do
apply
that.
for a deputy position.
What's that?
You're gonna apply for a deputy position.
Yeah. Is the range still behind the Old County home?
Yes.
Cool.
Yep.
Actually, the reason he's not running is he's got a new startup, it's called Matthews Munitions, and so he wants to get in on the ammo business, so.
Yeah, I mean, our range, in all seriousness, we have a really nice range. They've, Captain Garrett, before he had retired, did a great job redoing a lot of stuff. Grass, the aesthetics of everything. We've got our pneumatic targets working again, so we do have just a little bit of revenue from some of the federal agencies that they use our range, so they pay us a certain amount. It's not a lot, but they pay us a little bit, and then we guarantee them, I think it's 4 range days a year, something like that. So, yeah, we're proud of our range. So if you ever want to come out and see the facilities out there, if you haven't seen our training facilities out there, welcome any of you to come, because we've got a simunition house now that one of our correctional officers put in for a grant from MIRD probably 2 or 3 years ago. And so a lot of law enforcement in the area, we utilize that. We can make up a floor plan in there and practice ahead of a warrant or something like that. And then we've got the classrooms that are nicely equipped. I think they'll hold, both of them wide open, will hold about 85 students with AV, everything you need. So I think some of the other departments have used the training, the classrooms before, so.
I still have my big, what do you call that? The big piece of paper with the silhouette that Don Armstrong signed off that I got 45 out of 50 inside. So technically for the shop portion, I qualified
You're
for
saying
SWAT.
you have it, or you're
I
asking
have
if
it.
we have it? Okay,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I have not seen it. I don't think it's posted anywhere it's not framed in the training center.
Oh.
From
Okay,
5
you have
yards
it.
or? From 5 yards?
No, I did the whole thing. I got 45 out of 50, which is the minimum to be
Qualify?
with the shooting.
Okay.
I don't know if we would be able to qualify for the Iowa physical fitness standards to be a reserve.
I'd like to hang it actually, maybe on one of these walls.
You gonna run 2 miles in 13 minutes?
I'll move to receive.
Oh, hold on, I have one question, I'm sorry. Line 20100, gas tax refund.
Where,
Is that something that just comes in through the year, or is that something that's just going away?
line 20100, I don't know, Jennifer, do you know?
We use cards now, and they're all done by one company. They give us the tax refund upfront, so we don't have to apply for that.
Oh, okay,
They don't charge us that.
okay.
All right, so I'll second Bittinger's motion to receive. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Pose same sign, carries 5-0. Fund, item G, Fund 1061, Crime Prevention, General Basic.
Yeah, this is just the change in the 2% that was budgeted for across the board. And then the hospitalization line. So this is basically just, I'm gonna say one individual and the related costs.
Yeah, it's one deputy who does most of our crime prevention stuff, our social media, does all the work in the schools.
Okay. I move to receive.
Second.
Second. Motion by Nelson, seconded by Bittinger. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item H, Fund 1540, the Civil Fund, and this is in General Basic.
Again, this one is all payroll related.
I would move to receive.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Dietrich. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item I, Fund 1430, Courthouse Security, and this is in the General Supplemental Fund.
Okay, so I do have a change here. If you go down to line 10100, and Ryan, I don't believe is even aware of this. I talked to Melissa this morning. This is my fault. I was supposed to make a phone call the other day, and with all the other stuff we've had going on, I forgot to make the phone call. So you'll see that we're way over. There's only 15, I believe, well, right here it's showing 28%, but we have, I think the one I had showing, we only had about 15% of our budget left, even though we still have 5 months left of the year. So Jennifer was able to figure out the reason for that is in that wage plan employee part-time, we used to have 8 or 9 people that were plugged into the budget at 0.25. We now only have 5 employees in that, and one of them is 0.5 and the other 4 are 0.25. So we're not changing anything, but if we want to accurately reflect in the budget what it's costing, my recommendation is to make them all make 4 of them 0.5 and 1 of them 0.25. And the reason the one will stay at 0.25 is because He's an on-call status, which means and Melissa can correct me if any of this is wrong, because she's the one that told me this. The on-call status means that he doesn't get the vacation accrual, he doesn't get the IPERS and stuff like that, and he only comes when we call him in, but for budget purposes, he's at 0.25. The others, if we move them to 0.5, the other 4, that will get us back to where those numbers were when we had 8 or 9 people at 0.25, if that makes sense. And because we're gonna end up having to come for a budget amendment to cover the expenses in this current fiscal year. Because I think we just overlooked that.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I do think we maybe can research a little bit because we always do budget based on the FTEs that are approved. And I know several years back, I think maybe when you first became sheriff, we had some meetings because those numbers were growing and there was a lot of discrepancies in what the FTE approved by the board was. And maybe there was an error in the budgeting because we always budget, even if it is an unfilled position, based on the FTEs that we have approved by the board.
Okay, then if that's the case, I'm not sure why, because I don't believe we had to get a budget amendment last year to cover this expense. So something happened. That's kind of what we thought it was. If that's not accurate, if it's something else, that's fine. It's just that, and like I said to Melissa, I think we appointed our deputy to be here full-time maybe 2 years ago. So in no way am I asking to have the funding for part-time what it was, 3 years ago, because 3 years ago it was more because we didn't have a full-time correctional officer and a full-time deputy. So maybe there was some miscalculation there, but I think if we make 4 of those 0.5 and the one on-call 0.25, that will cover the budget at least a lot closer than what it is now. Because I'd rather do that than have to come back next year and ask for another budget amendment of X dollars. So, but however it needs to get done, I'm good with it.
So you have in here 66,000, for the FY '27?
Yeah, it probably needs to almost
saying-
double. Because in 2025, I'm sorry, 34,000 short if we leave it where it's at. So if you increase it by maybe 34,000, I think that'll get us closer. And does that matter, Michelle? Can we then figure out the FTEs later? or how does
Yeah, the board can approve the funding, that's what they're approving. We
Okay.
base the payroll budget on the current FTEs that are approved by the board. So
Okay.
that can be done down the road, that we
Okay.
can make sure that's adjusted, so next year the same thing doesn't happen.
Okay,
But that'll be a separate action that they'll increase the FTEs.
okay.
All right, well then I would move to receive with an additional 34,000 in expenses.
Second?
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Bittenger. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item J, Fund 1431 LEC Security, and this is in the general supplemental.
And if I'm not, go ahead, Ryan. I think this is just.
Yeah, it's just payroll. You can see approximately a 2% increase in wages. And then this is one where you can see the increase was only 10% for hospitalization because it wasn't a family plan. It might have been a single or, because those rates are all dependent on the various plans that were selected.
Move to receive. Motion by Nelson, seconded by Ung. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item K, Fund 1520. This is transport, and this is in the general supplemental fund.
So transport is another one that I don't know if we want to have this discussion, and I'm not really prepared to, I'm probably not fully prepared to have this discussion at this point, because I know I have talked to some of you individually about perhaps needing some additional staff. this would be one of the areas where that might be necessary. Because of our federal numbers, our transport division has probably tripled their work, and we haven't increased any staff. And you might see, if you're looking at these numbers, an increase in overtime rate because they're doing transports now on Saturdays and Sundays. We've never done, I don't know if we've ever done that, other than if it was like we were going to get somebody on a serious felony charge in another state, we might do that. But now they're routinely running long trips on Saturdays and Sundays. The other thing is they are now making daily trips to the federal courthouse in Sioux City, 2 or 3 times a day. Some days, most days probably, which is not a big deal because it's only 40 minutes round trip. But they didn't do that previously. So that 40-minute round trip, 2 or 3 times a day, they're not able to do the trips to the doctor's office, to the dentist, to the, all the things that they normally would do. And all of those things have increased because of the increased numbers of people in the jail. I mean, it just only makes sense that when you go from 234 to 380 or 400 inmates, you're going to have that many more medical needs to go somewhere else, go to see a doctor or whatever. So the dilemma that we're debating with the transport supervisor is whether we want to make those part-time positions and hire either off-duty law enforcement from other agencies or recently retired law enforcement, or whether we want to add 1 or 2 like full-time staff members. Obviously, the advantage with the part-timers is it's going to be cheaper. So we're not paying them all of the benefits, the health insurance and those kinds of things. So, but again, scheduling part-timers, as we know from courthouse security, gets very difficult. So I'm just throwing that out there because at some point, and I don't know how the board would prefer to do it, if you would prefer to do it as something that we add later when I really know what and how we want to accomplish that mission.
So far, do you think your preference will be to pick either full-time or part-time?
Yes.
Or a blend?
No, I think it's going to be one or the other. I mean, it could be a blend, Matthew. I hadn't thought about that. It could be like one full-time and then the other part-time. What I don't want to do is I don't want to hire 2 full-time people or 4 full-time people in transport, and 20 hours a week they're standing around trying to figure out what they're going to do. I don't want to do that. So it's easier in my mind. The sergeant doesn't agree. It's easier in my mind, and that's why we put him in a position that he's in. Is it's okay for him to disagree with me, and I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. To me, it seems easier to have part-time staff, and we schedule them because we know our trips. There's always emergency trips, but we know some of these trips for days and weeks in advance, and we can have the part-timers come in and they know they're going to get 6 hours tomorrow when they go to wherever. So
I think we'd handle it later when you have a better idea versus just guessing in the wind right now.
okay, and so would it need to be done in the budget cycle though? And that's a question for Ryan and Michelle, I guess. Maybe I don't,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would think you probably start with part-time, and then, because it's cheaper, like you said, and then if it doesn't work on your end, then we can always move up the ladder,
Yep. So in my mind, what I'm thinking, probably a minimum of 4.5 part-timers. But we also then got to figure out what that part-time hourly rate is going to be to get a Sioux City police officer on his day off to come and do transports for us. I can tell you, it's not going to be $25 an hour. you know, so, the other thing that we talked about is hiring an outside, contracting service, but they're expensive. They're spendy. So.
Well, the good thing about hiring local is they know you, they know us. To me, it seems like there's more of a incentive to
Yeah.
do well. And I mean, I'm not saying these companies want it, but they,
In my mind, I'm thinking that it's probably gonna have to be somewhere around $35 an hour minimum.
okay.
When they're working off duty, they're making double that, so. But
Okay.
this would be a more consistent hours they would get.
Right. So overtime would go down?
Overtime could go down,
I
yes.
mean, can we go
Yes,
almost to
it could.
zero to save?
Yes, I don't know that it's not gonna go to zero, but
Zero.
it could go down. It,
Okay.
it should go
Should
down,
go down.
yeah.
I mean, I know it's
Because we
trans-
could use those part-timers to even do, now what we'll do, just so you know, we won't have two part-timers go together on a trip. It would be one of our full-time transport people with a part-time transport person, if we choose to do the part-time,
Sure,
way.
that makes sense.
The other advantage to, and what the sergeant has said, the other advantage to having a full-time person is that full-time person, when they're not being used, can go work in the jail.
Right.
And assist when we get a trip of 10 or 12 or 15 federal inmates, if it coordinates when, you know, so there's other ways we could use those full-timers. With the part-timers, they're not gonna go help in the jail. They're not gonna be correctional officers.
Right.
So,
Part-time makes sense, though. I mean, with the increase in benefits, hospitalization, what we're seeing, I mean, that, I think all that has to be considered
yeah.
for the budget. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions for Chad? I would move to receive.
A quick question.
Yes, Ryan.
Did you want to make any changes now before you receive for the additional?
I think we receive it now, and we'll let Chad crunch some numbers on the number of
Okay.
part-time he has and what he thinks that cost will be, and he can bring that back as a improvement request that we could add in later.
Can I, if you give me just a second, what would be the additional cost on a part-timer if they were making roughly, say, $35 an hour? Any idea? Like to ballpark?
It'd be, if we were,
Say 20 hours a week.
if you just use 1,000 hours for a half-time person, it'd be about $35,000, per half person. If that's how,
It's probably around 150,000 would be the increase in that. And that would only get you one full-time correctional officer. A little more, but not much more. It certainly doesn't get you two. So I don't know if you want to do that. I mean, that's just ballpark numbers. If you want to receive it with that, if you're comfortable with that. I can tell you that, like juvenile court and Ryan's staff, Ryan will tell you that our staff isn't able to really fulfill all of their needs, because transport's just so slammed. So what we've done, even in the last couple weeks, is now when they need juveniles transported, they send an email to our transport division. If they can't do it, that email is also CC'd to our captain and lieutenant on the sworn side, and they will pull a deputy off the road to go do the transports. So, I mean, it's definitely needed. We're just trying to be mindful to not come and ask for a bunch of extra stuff, but I mean, this is definitely needed.
First dibs goes to conservation officers.
Well, they could do it. They're sworn. If they're sworn, they could. You'd have to ask. I'm not sure. FLSA, if because are you considered county employees? Yeah. So county employees might not be able to work. We run into that. At a different wage, we would have to pay them overtime rate. That's the problem. That's why we couldn't have. I can't have like correctional officers come work transport at $35 an hour, which is more than their hourly rate, right? can't have them do that on their day off because FLSA says we have to pay them overtime because they're county employees.
Right.
That's why I said it would have to be it'd be another agency. It'd be, and I've talked to a few Sioux City, police officers that they will do it. If we get this, there's several guys that I've talked to, that said they'll do it.
Well, I mean, we can always remove it. We could put $150K in. I mean, we can always take it out later, but if.
But I guess you have to look at it too, is that
Early wait.
the only reason the expense is there is because of the federal inmates that we're getting money for. So, I mean, if we didn't have the federal inmates, we wouldn't need these
Correct.
positions, you know. It's not necessarily, I mean, it's a county position, but it's not for the county.
Right.
So,
Right.
We can wait. Yeah.
Like I can tell you, like transport,
Brian doesn't look too excited to do transport. so-
transport's year to date,
And the part-timers.
the transport's year to date in, not fiscal year, but in 2025, we billed transport, about 140,000 to the feds.
I guess that could be a new gig for you, Matthew. You know, you already passed your shooting test.
The whole budget process.
Yeah, yeah. What can Matthew do?
Yeah.
What can Matthew do for you? There you go.
I just want to say that a part-time employee would not be eligible to be in the union, according to their contract. So that wouldn't be something that we'd have to like create an MOU or create a new pay grade for. So it'd be a little easier that way.
So if we
Yeah.
receive this with, say, $150,000 for part-time, does that authorize Chad to go out and start hiring part-time immediately, or is that after
That we
we've?
would go,
No, it wouldn't be
you
too
know,
much.
for approval to start hiring
Okay,
through the board, and then we could do that. But as long as, it'd be part-time and no benefits, it'd be a little easier to figure out the budget.
Michelle?
Today, you're just approving the budget. So if you're going to create a position, there has to be an agenda item that's
Okay.
discussed
Right.
to actually create the position. So today, you're just approving the dollars in the budget.
Okay,
And then that would only be starting July 1 of,
yeah.
of the year, so.
Oh, you want to make that motion then, Dan?
Yeah, I would move to receive with an additional $150,000.
Second. Motion by Binger, second by Nelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. On to item L, Fund 1000, Uniform Patrol. This is on the rural basic side.
Again, this is all mainly payroll related, and I think I'll have one question. Did we have is the supervisory organized correct? How many, is it sergeants would be in rural basic? Because I'm thinking this is going down by 90,000, but there was another one in a different function that went up. I just want to make sure that we have the right number.
I'm looking to Jennifer because I don't have that written down on my sheet.
Yes. I believe the sergeant was moved to a different.
So that's why it,
Loaded was in a different budget.
The deputy that we promoted to sergeant was in a different budget area.
so that's why it looks like it's going down, but it,
Went up somewhere else.
Yes,
Are you all right with that?
I'm fine with it, as long as you are.
Shona can compare also the position budgeting last year's versus this year to get the specifics of names to show Jennifer if you need her to.
But as I said, I just wanted to know that this is all payroll related, and that's why it looks like it went down, is that position is budgeted in a different.
Okay. Any other questions? I'd move to receive.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Dietrich. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. And lastly, item M, Fund 1105, Highway Safety Grant. This is in rural basic.
This is similar to overtime, previously where overtime has some reimbursement.
All right, I'd move to receive. Second. Motion by Nelson, seconded by Ung. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0.
So the only other thing that I appreciate all your input and work on this. The only other thing I was gonna maybe discuss briefly is, and again, I've talked to, I think, most all of you individually, and was waiting until the budget process to see what your, and I don't really want an answer today, but this is the first time I've gotten to talk to all 5 of you at the same time in an open meeting and been able to talk to the board as a whole is, at some point, kind of figure out where the board wants those federal numbers to be at, based on the staffing, our current staffing. Current staffing, we think we're 125 to 150, and we're probably, 125 is certainly more manageable. 150 is, the nose is to the grindstone and working really hard for the correctional staff. So for the board to kind of think about are you satisfied with that? If you want it to be, incrementally increased by 20 or 25 or 40 or 50, I think we can probably only comfortably go to maybe 190, maybe 200 roughly, but that would certainly require more staffing. So my estimation is probably between 6 and 8 more correctional officers per 20 to 25 increased inmates. So you all can, do the math, figure out what the net result is, and
Per 20 inmates? 6 to
Yeah.
8 per 20?
yes, just say 25.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Maybe 8 more COs per 25 additional staff, or 25 additional federal inmates.
Okay.
And then do the math, figure out what that net is and whether it's worth it, right?
Sure.
Because the risk, to be fully transparent, the risk is that we don't get that many inmates, but we have the staff.
Yep.
So, that's a dollars and cents budget question that I think you need to kind of figure out. I'd be happy to discuss with you how I think it looks, but this is one time where if you're good where we're at and you want to stay there, we're good with that. If you want to bump it up, see if we can get the staff hired and see where it goes, we'll do it. But I really am good either way. Okay?
Is 25 the minimum, increment, or?
I don't think the increment, I'm just using the increments just so that we can try to compare apples and apples when we're looking at revenue versus costs, increased cost.
Good question.
Yeah, because if we want to conservatively move up and we're fine with 5 or 10 more, and there's a couple more
The
we
problem
wanna
is
hire.
with a 4-team system working 12-hour shifts, the minimum number of hires would be probably 4 or 8.
Okay.
Because then we're adding
That's
1 or
helpful.
2 team members to each team working
Sure.
in the jail.
Okay.
So that's kind of why that number.
So
Okay.
we could say the minimum increment is approximately 4 officers,
The minimum would be
For-
4.
12-ish.
The minimum would be 4. I don't know how helpful 1 additional person would be on a team. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
2 would be more ideal. So I think, to be fair to you, if you figured it on increasing by 8, then you know, okay, we're increasing by 8. We're gonna look at the revenue of 25. It doesn't make sense to us, right? And that's again, that's your guys' decision. I'm good with it either way.
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, it will increase the net revenue, there's no doubt. I mean, but there's other hidden costs of stress of the staff and other things. So you'll factor all that in. And if any of you want to call me and talk to me, and I'll be happy to
Sure.
share thoughts. So,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Ryan can probably crunch those numbers for us too.
Thank you. He can put them in his spreadsheet and he'll have it all figured out in no time, so. All right, up next is the Treasurer's Office. Honorable Tina Bertrand. Item A is Fund 8100. That's a motor vehicle, and that is in the general basic.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for.
Terrible noise.
Somebody went out the wrong door.
Oh.
What's the matter?
Someone went out the wrong door.
Sorry.
Does that mean we need to exit? Fire alarm?
No.
It's okay. Thanks for having, I actually really do appreciate actually having a working session. As opposed to trying to do it at night, I think it is going to be very helpful to be able to go through this. I think for the motor vehicle side, and actually it's really with the entire budget, 88 to 89% of our budget is basically staffing costs. So the increases, when you're looking through the 8100 series, which is motor vehicle, you'll see that with the exception of postage, which the last 3 years, postage has gone up 5 cents. They usually do that about April, May time period. And then I think I also had a little bit in some stationery forms and things like that. We're just seeing some increases with our cost for printing envelopes and things like that, but very minor increases there. So the increase in the budget for the motor vehicle is all staffing. I know going through it, I think I need to work a little bit more with the auditor's office in terms of how we're allocating people, and some of that's me shifting staff around. And some of that, what I'm experiencing right now is some of our classifications for staff and having to deauthorize and authorize positions. And then the other largest increase that I see in the organized staff from last year, I haven't got a clear answer on it, but I believe it's related to the improvement requests that were last year budgeted in a separate line item. And this year that line item was reduced, and we've put it now where the staff is actually working, or the positions that they're in the organized staff.
Yeah, because you can see on the summary that there is 27,000 in the improvement request last year that has 0. So that 27,000 probably should be up with the organized employees line, so that doesn't really increase as much.
That's correct. That was an oversight last year during the budget cycle, is when those improvement requests are approved, they should be moved to the appropriate line. So I would suggest a budget adjustment when those are done to move those appropriately.
Mm-hmm. The only other comment that I would make on the motor vehicle side, because we do look at the revenue completely different, because revenue is actually posted in the tax segment of the budget. But our motor vehicle budget is just over $1.5 million, and our cost is $1.3 million. So we're actually bringing in about $190,000, almost $200,000 more in revenue than the cost to provide the service to the community.
If only we could have every department do that.
If only. I mean, yeah, if only.
Yeah.
And
It's
then,
just not possible, so, for some of them. So we're glad that you can get that accomplished, so thank you.
you know what, for the next couple of years, we can.
Yeah.
Since we don't get increases in motor vehicle revenue, but every 20 years, we're reliant on increase in product, which truthfully, we've actually had a 5% increase in product that we've done as well. So there's a little bit of that happening too.
Okay.
So vehicles are growing in Woodbury County faster than our population.
No, people just seem to turn over or they just buy a lot more. Yeah, I mean, the number of
Yeah.
people who own 3, 4, 5 vehicles is relatively shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, any
I'm
county
not gonna
type.
comment because I just got my registration yesterday for the 4 vehicles for the Nelson House, so.
Yeah.
We can say thank you.
You're welcome, guys. I put the county on my back, so.
Hey,
Yeah. I have 4, and I'm about to add one more with my youngest driver, so 5 will be mine, yeah.
Yeah,
thank
but
you.
Dan, you have drivers.
Yes.
I don't.
Yeah, that's true, you too, that's true.
I can promise you Roy and Charlie are not tearing down the streets, so.
He's probably not including his trailers either.
I was not including the trailer.
Ooh, I didn't
so let's
include
just
my
move on.
trailer.
Let's just move
So
on.
that's 6.
I know. Or the ATVs either.
That's DNR.
I really like the treasurer's office, okay?
So you get frequent flyer points.
Are there
I
any
heard
other
if you register
questions? on
10
motor
cars, you
vehicle?
get the 11th one free, so. Yeah,
Well, maybe you can ask Tina for a volume discount.
yeah.
I'd move to receive.
Second.
All right, motion by Bittinger, seconded by Ung. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries 5-0. Item B is Fund 9020, and this is Treasury Management, and this is in the General Basic Fund.
So this is basically treasury management, consists of collection of property taxes, investing and things like that. Again, I mentioned that motor vehicle revenue is in this budget as well. The other thing that's in this budget is DNR, which isn't a substantial amount. But to review some of the revenue side of it, DNR did drop by 23%. It's not a large dollar value, and that was related to the fact that last year was boat renewal season, which is on a every 3-year cycle. So we lowered revenue appropriately because we won't have that much coming through. Some of the other changes that we had were just trying to align really how we're receiving revenue as we work through some of this, some of the tax sale stuff, things like that. We weren't really capturing what we actually had, and so we were under budgeting quite a bit, so we're trying to capture more of that. That really, last year, when Michelle was leading a lot of the budgeting, we kind of went through with fine-tooth comb to kind of increase some of these revenue streams. The other one that's a significant discount or decrease is the commercial and industrial credits that we get from the state. That is a phasing out program, and so this is the last year that we'll be receiving any money for that line item. I believe they moved it to a tier 1, and they restructured the commercial. Basically, it's the commercial property relief that they had. So as we know, we have a lot of discussions on property tax changes, and so it's going to be a little bit of a moving target for us. But we know that one phased out. The other items, if you look through the budget, I mean, they're all staff related. Again, we have some increases with, there's some benefit increases that I'm not quite sure. The healthcare is probably the largest one. It's a 75% increase. I think that some of that has to do with budgeting for open positions because we budget at the highest level, on top of which we all know that we've had some significant increases in our costs for insurances. And then the last thing is just to try to, I'd like to go through again just where our staffing is and how it's being allocated. In the organized staff, looking at that increase, I believe that was a frozen position last year. When we froze that position, we froze it in the tax side of it, not in the motor V side, which I think have a budget issue this year because I was allocating costs to the wrong place. Because to me, they're just treasurer staff. Doesn't, if it's motor vehicle or tax, it's all kind of the same. So sometimes I think I put people in a general ledger cost code that doesn't align with our budget. And then the other largest significant increase was on postage. And that was something that we started addressing last year, where the board was actually paying for a lot of the postage that was for the tax department, yet they're coming to our office to pick a lot of it up. So when we do the delinquent notices, when we do the special assessments and things like that, mobile home tax statements, when we were mailing all that stuff out, even when we did the general tax statement, the board, that budget was coming through the board. So we're trying to align that with, this is work that is actually done at the treasurer's office, and to have a better handle on what we're actually mailing out, because I can't really see then what our budget is on that stuff. Right. So we actually made this shift this year. I believe, and Ryan can correct me if I'm making the wrong statement, but I believe for FY26 we'll have a budget adjustment because it was not in the budget last year, and we've already moved to actually have that mailing come through my office.
Yeah, that's correct. And also in the board's budget for 27, we have that will show you later this afternoon that there's a equal decrease in the postage in the board's budget.
For revenue, shouldn't that be increased on interest on investments?
Increase? No.
Didn't it go from $1 million to 500,000?
It's a decrease. We're showing, we've had significant decreases in the Fed rate. Mm-hmm. So we have interest rates going down. So we had, one of the things for FY26, when interest rates were up at that 5%, we did a lot of investments for 2 and 3 year time periods. So we're going to see and recognize a lot of that interest in FY26. But in FY27, now all those revenue streams coming down, and the highest interest rate that we're getting on our long-term investments is about 3.5%. So I'm showing a significant decrease. The other issue is our average daily balances. For FY22, 23, and 24, we actually had a substantial amount of ARPA funds that we've kind of bled down, and all that money's gone. So that also impacted our thing. So, right now, we went into FY26 0.25% higher on our interest than we were projecting, but we also we went into the year that way, but we're actually 0.5% lower than what we were projecting today because interest rates have come down. One of the things I would like to do is relook at interest investment as we get closer to the end of the budget season, as we kind of see more of the Fed meetings coming through and where they're moving on interest rates. They did not move the interest rates for January, and they keep going back and forth if they're going to have 2 more. It's just extremely difficult to try to project out what's going to happen a year and a half from now on interest rates. But I have been comparing it to and trying to keep a delta between what the Fed has and what we've received historically. IPATE was one of the things that we used to be able to, when we passed that resolution, to be able to invest and have that as another investment tool for us. That helped us a lot. With some of our interest rates locally, there was, at the time that resolution was passed, I think we had it was a 1.1% delta on interest rates, and it creeped all the way up to 2.75, and then they started coming back in line with where IPATE's daily rate was. There is legislation right now presented to actually restrict investing in a investment tool like that. So that's just another thing too. and the thing to keep.
Federal?
Huh?
State or federal?
State. State legislature has legislation that was presented last week to restrict our ability to invest in those types of investment groups.
What was the argument on why they want to do that?
Johnson County.
Banks are lobbying, local banks are lobbying. Now, IPATE, to understand, IPATE investment is local to Iowa. It may not necessarily be local to Woodbury County if we're investing in IPATE. However, when any county invests in IPATE, our local banks could have money from a different county if our local banks have capacity. So some of the smaller rural counties, their banks don't have capacity. Woodbury County does have capacity a lot of times. So there's many times when IPATE will invest with the Woodbury County Bank from another county. We don't necessarily get all that detail. It's not as transparent because I don't think it's required to be. But for us, it's a tool to be able to, we haven't invested in terms of CD rates with IPATE. We've had a few of them, but most of it's what we have is we have a daily rate and a daily investment policy. And what that does is it provides us the best liquidity. We're investing at the current, right now, yes, as of yesterday, their interest rate was 3.47. So if I'm getting a 12-month CD at 3.55, there's not a whole lot of spread there. The risk is that rate comes down as the Fed rate goes down. But it's still more than what we're receiving at our local banks. Now, Security National has been really good in matching our main bank account with that IPATE rate.
Tina, on our investments, one question I wanted to ask you was, do we invest in gold? Or what does state code say regarding counties? And the reason I ask is I was down at a summit with Senator Kevin Alonzo with other state senators and speakers of the houses. In Utah, 5 years ago, they allowed 10% of their rainy day fund to be invested in gold. In the legislatures, they did that, and they invested like 70 million, got up to 120 million, and they're using that to fund their transportation departments and their roads departments. The reason I ask is that, are we allowed to do that? Do we do that? I mean, I know gold's just fluctuated in the last 2 or 3 weeks and went down, but what's your thoughts on that? I'm just curious, yeah.
So the code does restrict in terms of what types of investments we can actually invest in. I don't believe I saw anything in the code that would allow us to invest in gold and silver, although they are pretty profitable right now. But we would also have to align it with our county investment policy. And our investments policy does not have that.
Okay.
But it is time to look at that investment policy and look at it, like we should with all of our policies, to align it with what the code allows us to do and what's going to be best for the county.
Yeah, because I was speaking with the Speaker of the House for Louisiana, and they are investing a generous amount into gold.
In gold.
Yeah. And they're encouraging counties to do that. So I was just curious. I mean, it's not like it has to be done now, but it's just.
I don't recall seeing where we're allowed to actually invest in metals per Iowa code.
All right. Thank you.
But I can verify that for you though.
Okay.
The state of Louisiana is allowing its counties to?
They're wanting them to. They're trying to get county support. I don't know where they're at, if they're making it a code where they are allowed, but they're trying verbally.
Sure.
The legislature are trying to work with counties to help them.
And in that investment strategies, is it EFTs or is it like paper gold or is it actually?
No, it's
gold?
real gold.
It's real. So they're actually doing the commodity.
They're modeling off of the Texas Bullion Depository.
Okay.
Model, and so. So yeah, Senator Kevin Alonzo is trying to work at the state here, levy pricing some of his bills on that. So, it's just curious, just see you diversifying, just to hedge against anything.
Well, hopefully he's able to stay on the committee that does that.
Yep. Well, yeah, that's a whole. Yeah, we won't get into that right now. Yeah.
Any other questions for Tina?
I just have one, so maybe it's clarification for me. But so elected officials went up 2%, but appointed deputies 12.2. Should it not follow the elected or? And maybe that was on the other ones and I missed it.
I think that's where I have to go back. When I was looking at the summary sheet, I had 3 deputies in my tax budget and only 1 in my motor V budget, and there should be 2 and 2. So
okay.
I just need to make sure. And then some of it too is I'm realigning it. So if it is still 2 and 2, the motor V deputy went down, and I'm actually moving one of my motor V deputies to my tax and putting a tax in my motor V. It's just an alignment of operations in the office. So to a certain extent, I think that those 2 offset each other. So one went down by 9%, one went up by 12%. So I think if you were to look at that, it'd probably still align with the 2% increase.
I just looked back and it did. It went down by minus, yeah. Thank you.
All right, well, I'd move to receive.
Well, Chairman, I have one point. On the revenue side, the property tax, right now, the levy rates have not been officially set, but the numbers that are in the budget reflect no increase or decrease to the levy rates.
Okay.
So that's how that number was determined.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Bittenger. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Treasurer.
Thank you. You guys have a gentlemen and ladies in the room. Have a good day.
You too.
All right, up next we have Conservation, Item A, Fund 6100, Administration, and this is in the General Basic Fund, and I would call on Dan Conservation Heisel to come up and present this to us.
Dan Heisel, Conservation Director. Brian Steer, Deputy Director. He's here to answer all your questions.
What is the best place to eat in Odebolt?
What's that?
Dan said you're here to answer a question, so I said, what is the best place to eat in Odebolt? The bowling alley?
Probably the bowling alley.
Okay, all right. Dan, what do you got for us?
Well, I appreciate, it was different, but Ryan's summary and how he presented, I actually like. So it made me change the way I was going to present today. And what I would like to do is piggyback off of what Ryan gave you. I have something I'd like to introduce to you, each board members.
Move to receive.
Second, motion by Dietrich, second by Nelson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Ryan will like it.
Passes 5-0.
Is there 5 there? It just helps me as we go down and we break down each department.
Yep.
Yeah, I need one for Michelle. Yeah. Yep.
You get one?
Not yet. But I can just, I can, if you need, I can look on Michelle's.
I got one.
Okay.
Everybody get one then? All right, as you can see in Ryan's breakdown, administration, part of our budget increased 164,000. That showed a 26.5% increase. But in that was, well, let me start over on that. I want to tell you, we have tried to keep our budget at the same level the last 3 years, other than salaries, which are set by the supervisors. Our board follows your cost of living increases in July. So the budget I presented to you last year was a budget basically from fiscal year 25. Last year, we were asked to cut 10% of our budget. I think it was 5 to 10 you had asked for. We did 10 right away. And what we did is we took $128,000 from the motor vehicle line item under administration, $128,597. So that was part of our decrease. So this year, I put that back in. So you see, I think it show around like a 600% increase in that line item?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it really throws this out of whack. What we're actually coming back is asking you for the same budget we had last year, putting back in the motor vehicle line item and 6 of the 13 seasonal employees that we've cut. So then I just wanted to paraphrase that. So we're actually looking for the same budget with those cuts put back in. So motor vehicles, 128,597. Salaries and FICA under administration, that's the 2% that was proposed, that was put in automatically. FICA and IPERS follow suit, so that's out of our control. Employee hospitalization was 23,372. Once again, out of our control.
I just pressed my button. It says hospitalization was increased due to the change of rates.
Because of
Thank you,
what?
Ryan.
It was increased why?
The new rates and plans.
Okay, yeah, so it was out of our control.
You had to
so-
be at the last session, after session, after session to get that one.
Okay.
Guess that was kind of an inside joke. Okay, Dan, you're now allowed inside.
All right, so, and then we get to contractual services. The $1 million septic system we put in at Little Sioux Park, that was, had a 1 year. We are now paying $1,500 a year to have that maintained. And that is done through computers, and they can tell us if our system is malfunctioning, and they would call us and they can make adjustments for us. So it really helps us out. So there's a contract we had to put in place. Then the miscellaneous changes of $1,300 I deducted was school of instruction and travel expense. So, any questions under administration? I didn't know how you wanted to go through this. I just thought I'd hit the increases, and if you have questions on the rest of the admin budget, there was detail in the budget we presented for every line item. So if you have any questions, Brian be willing to answer them. In regards to that motor vehicle line item, I guess I can touch on that. You don't see it, but we had a different schedule under the budget that listed what vehicles are going to get replaced. But we have a 2001 tandem axle dump truck that we've had issues with. And we put a cylinder out of it. And the reason, can you explain why?
Yeah, so it was due to the frame corrosion in between. It's a double frame, so it's called frame jacking, so the frame actually twists. And so when the box lifts, it doesn't lift straight, and it actually broke our cylinder. So when we're trying to do that, and there's really no way we were told to fix it other than replace the frame, which pretty much the truck is not worth that much to replace the frame on it.
So it's an integral piece of equipment for us, and we were looking at that this year. You know, last year we got rid of our motor vehicle line item. There's other issues going on. 8 years ago when I got here, they hadn't had a motor vehicle line item for a few years because of budget cuts. I was fortunate that first year that came back, and we had just got back to where I feel comfortable that we've got equipment that we can keep rotating and not dump a lot of money in to maintenance and expense. So that's where we're at, and if you would like to see our equipment replacement plan, it goes out through 31-32 fiscal year. I could submit that, but if you'd rather see that some other time. Brian does an excellent job of watching the hours, because if you get mowers that get too many hours on them, they're worthless for trade. Same way with the vehicle. And then the problem is we run into with the mowers, once you start getting that many hours on them, you're putting just a lot of money and maintenance into them.
I'd move to receive.
Second. Motion by Bittinger, second by Nelson. Any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item B, Fund 6110, Parks. This is in the general basic.
This is the meat and potatoes of our budget, as you know. It's where a lot of our expenses are at, and that's where a lot of the action happens, and it's where a lot of our revenues are generated. I'm asking for, as you know, last year when you asked for budget cuts, we stepped up right away and took 13 positions off that were temporary. We found out how important 6 of those are. The other ones were, but they were hard to fund because, as Sheriff Sheehan had pointed out, when you pay $25 an hour, it's hard to get an off-duty peace officer to come in and work. So we gave up those security officers' positions. But the 6 seasonal employees, which are 3 summer rangers and 3 maintenance workers, were missed tremendously in the parks. Because what happens is I've got full-time employees, that are making 40, 50,000 a year riding lawnmowers when I should be paying somebody $12 to $15 an hour without benefits to run that lawnmower. And just so you know, we went through and we reduced mowing. We cut down the amount of mowing. We planted native grasses and forbs and trying to cut down mowing, looking at every way we could save mowing time. But when you pull into a park, there's got to be a certain amount of green space for people to enjoy. And so we've done that. We've looked at how can we cut down our mowing? How can we cut down maintenance? So we've tried to do that. Little Sioux Park's a great example. As you pull in, I was always amazed that was a lot of mowing when I got here. That half mile into the park, it used to be out so far. It's beautiful. I loved it. But wow. A lot of time on a mower. So Brian and I came up with a plan and worked with field staff, and of course that got shrunk down, so now it's just 8 feet on each side of the road as you go in. So anyway, the importance of those summer positions, we knew it was going to be tough. We got full-time staff to buy into that we were going to cut them, and it was tough. I mean, we need those positions back. They're out there scrubbing the toilets. They're out there picking up the trash. They're the ones mowing. They're filling in on the weekends, some of those rangers positions when they're full-time, they're working like 11 to 2 or 11 to 10. They're out there at 7 in the morning doing the job. So you got any comments on the seasonals that I missed?
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
So you put those seasonals back in there, it's $106,000, and there's some, the salaries in FICA and IPERS made it $122,271. But to us, those are very important positions, and was hoping we could get those reinstated this year. Then, of course, the employee hospitalization, which was Ryan's fault for $38,981, out of our control. And then,
But it's not 30%, so.
What's that?
Ryan said this morning that everything was gonna be 30% higher on the hospitalization, and this one's only 28, so take that, Ryan.
I did say it was going to range between like 20 and.
Oh, okay.
But see, he gave you the
My
top.
apologies.
He gave you the top, so when it came in lower, you'd feel better.
Yeah, something
help.
like that, yeah.
Anyway, so that division, the parks, showed an increase of $159,753. And as you can see, $122,000 of it was salary, FICA, and IPERS for full-time employees, as well as bringing those 6 seasonal positions back. 3 summer rangers positions and 3 summer maintenance positions. I'm sorry, and the 2 concession positions. That was ironic because we actually had one full-time equivalent employee position that was not funded. It was approved, and that's how we got our concession people. We broke that up into 4 part-time, so we only used 2. We're trying to get by with 2 instead of 3. So, any questions on the parks, the motor vehicles, anything?
Which line does the revenue fall into?
That goes in under a different fund. That's our 57,000 fund.
Okay.
So that revenue, are you looking at what amount of revenue we had come in?
Yeah, I just didn't know if it fell into this 6110 or if that's totally separate from any of these that are being presented.
The revenues are separate. It goes into our CIP account.
Okay.
And that's how we fund the road that we have a yearly payment now that Ryan and I just talked about. It's $130,600 that will transfer come June 1st to make that payment because the supervisors covered that. And then we've got another $110,000 that'll go towards the playground. It's a match to a grant that we have. That'll happen this summer. And so that's like $230,000 of the, we're depending on the weather and the time, it's anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000 that we'll bring in for revenues. So we try to not ask for any CIP money unless we have to. So that's where those revenues go. And if you'd like to see a breakdown at some point, I can get those to you. It shows
by cabins, by camping. It shows you by park and by month. We have that all broken down. So if that's something you're interested in, we could get to you guys.
Okay.
So.
Move to receive.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, second by Bitcher. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item C from Conservation is Fund 6120, and it is for the naturalist. This is also general basic.
Correct. All these funds we're talking about are general basic today. So the naturalist, this is, to me, is an easy one. They're our heart and soul, and they're the front, the face, the people that the public see. They don't see me and Brian. They see the naturalists with their children at public programs. So all you see there for expenses is the 2% increase in salaries of FICA and IPERS, which came out to $15,005, and that's for seasonals there. Under that as well, we have naturalist interns we have, and then the employee hospitalization again. So it had a $26,631 increase. So I'm asking for the same budget as last year, just with those increases that were out of our control.
Second. Motion by Ung, seconded by Nelson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. And item D, Fund 6123. This is the Nature Center Fund, also in the general basic.
All right. This professional services is something that Kenny and Ryan talked to me about this spring and said that I was going to have to budget for because it used to be under the CIP fund that Kenny had. And I think Ryan helped me out here. We expended, or that fund was, how did that go?
We had a CIP for redoing the foundation, and I think Discovery is right now, the work potentially may need to be done, but this is a cost of the monitoring that really isn't a CIP number. It needs to be part of the operating budget. And this is a continuing, monitoring of, I think it's the shifting of the, foundation out there. And at some point, if it does, that we may need to do a CIP out there to, repair any, major issues that are encountered. But for right now, this is monitoring to make sure nothing is, we'll say, alarming that needs to be addressed.
So they asked me to move that dollar amount over to our budget and we created that line item, Ryan did for us, under professional services under Nature Center, so we can monitor. And I get good news, the last report we got from the monitoring, it had not moved. So with getting cold and frost, and we haven't seen anything, so this next round after, the spring will be interesting. So that's where that 20,000 came from. And I assume if we had any issues show up, we'd have to come back to the board and put together a proposal and ask for CIP, and then it would go underneath CIP.
Yeah, assuming it was, because I think we had budgeted at one point a couple $100,000, but then it was determined that that work wasn't needed, so then that funds were reallocated to a different project.
I appreciate the $2 increase in garbage. I don't know if I've ever seen a budget line item less than 100 or three figures. So thank you for your honesty for a $2 increase on the garbage.
Well, can I expand on that?
A 0.2% increase, sure.
Well, that's for this year's budget yet. We have not seen the figures. I know that our contract for garbage is up, and we'll be letting bids, and we'll receive those in March. So I will hold to that figure, and that's all I could project. So
I'm guessing trash barrels, burn barrels are not an option for you guys out there.
No.
I'm teasing.
No, I know, but so Nature Center is, once again, it sees over 50,000 people a year, as you know. You've all been out there, and exhibits have been redone. We use grant dollars to do that, and donations. We had a lot of public donations. So if you haven't been out to see the new exhibits that have been redone, I encourage you to show up. But something new.
I've moved to receive.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Bittenger. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'll hit that was easy button, thank you.
I'm going to propose a 5-minute cookie break before we start with Kenny. So Melissa made those fresh this morning, Dan.
Who did?
Melissa did.
So you're offering me a cookie?
Yeah, they're for everybody.
Okay.
I'm gonna come down there and get one.
Be advised that during the breaks, the mics are still recording.
Okay. All the comments go to Melissa on that.
Hey, you get a new business right here.
All right, we'll, after our sugar break, we'll get back to it here. We got lots of cookies down here in the courthouse, so if you're watching and you want to come hang out in person, you can have treats, so. Up next from Building Services, we have item A, which is Fund 9101, Courthouse. This is in the general basic.
Good morning, Ken Smith, Building Services. A few things I'd like to start off with.
Kenny, can you turn the mics on, please?
Absolutely, how's that?
That's much better, thank you.
Ken Smith,
Good
Building
catch, Dan.
Services. A few things I'd like to start off with, just to give you a little bit of background for some of those who might be as familiar as others. Building Services operates approximately 347,360 square feet. If we add the additional square footages of CIP buildings, that brings it up to a little over 400,000 square feet. We currently take care of about 10 different lots or parcels within the city as far as mowing, tree removal, and things like that. Our operating, or our funding sources are our operating budget, repair agreement budgets, and capital improvements. And in today's budget, you'll notice that Ryan put together a nice packet for us. The grand total increase indicates 8.3%, and I'll explain a little while later, or as we go through each building, why that may not be a true comparison or a true view of what the real percentage is. That is skewed higher, and is probably more relative to around 4% overall. There's some definite changes we've made in this year's budgeting that has impacted that. So normally, I have an operating budget of 9101, 9102, 9103, 9104, 9105, 9108, 9109, and 9113. The two different facilities, and those are accounts for each different building, by the way, sorry. The two that are different are the Anthony Courthouse and Siouxland District Health, which are derived at for different reasons. The Anthony Courthouse was actually donated to Woodbury County, and so that was kind of one that didn't ever have a budget and just kind of got thrown into the lap. But
they love you out there.
I'm sorry?
They love you out there.
Yeah. The Siouxland District Health does have an agreement, a repair agreement with the county, and as we get to that building, I'll go through that agreement. Capital improvement facilities, additionally above our operating budget facilities, are the Dorothy Pico Nature Center, Climbing Hill Emergency Services, and again, Siouxland District Health. Overall, our budget is heavily weighted on utilities. Utilities and repairs are what impact our budgets the most. Our budgets are a little bit difficult in that they're driven by utilities. The last few years, we've seen utilities, while they've increased in costs, the climate in our area has been amicable to those costs. In other words, our climates have been very seasonal in both the summer and the winter, and that has helped keep those costs pretty low and stable. So that is one big swing we can have in our budgets depending on what temperatures are doing from year to year. With that, we'll go to the courthouse. And you can see that we've got overall a 6.5% increase in that budget. Now, when I explain that earlier that the overall percentage increase in budgets wasn't reflective of what it really is, in my view. I believe that the actual percentage at this building would be an actual increase of 4% if we removed $30,000 from item 44-100. That is an additional increase that we haven't done in the past. I decided to do that this year. I've done it in a couple of different areas. This is $30,000 for the auditor's carpet. We knew that this is a possibility coming forward, and so this is an item I put in the budget that we normally would not have. We would have usually done a CIP. It's much easier to expense a project when you don't have to do CIP, and so that's why I put it in the budget. That's at the board's purview. But again, overall, this building's increase would be about 4%, but it is 6.5%. And I truly believe that this is the way we should be allocating our budgets. Any questions on line items that we might have in the budget? Other than that, the utilities, basically, we did a 3-year average and added 4%. Normally we do try to do a 3-year average and do a 3.5 to 4-year % for that utility usage.
I just have one question, Kenny. For the maintenance contracts, it's going up 8,400.
What number was that? I'm sorry.
Let me pull it up here. Sorry.
44,900.
Yeah, 44,900.
Okay.
Yeah, just, are we having more outside services, or what's that entail?
Yes, I believe that we might be having more services. Again, this is, these are some of the standout items I've tried to increase.
Gotcha. Okay.
To anticipate some of the costs that could be coming ahead. This past year, we had a couple of them. One was, of course, up in the clerk's ceiling, actually 2 ceilings now. So try to anticipate things like that we need to bring contractors in for. We did for that, the project we did in the clerks, we actually brought in an artist to do paint the historic murals that were on the columns. So things to try to cover.
Gotcha. Sounds good. I'd move to receive.
Second. Motion by Binger, second by Nelson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item B, Fund 9102, the old LEC.
Yes, this is just an old LEC line item account. And actually, Ryan, if you don't mind, I'll let you explain, kind of why we carried that over in the manner that we did.
Well, this function will cease or no longer, because the building isn't currently being demoed. So the budget for fiscal '27 is 0. But there was professional services budgeted for '26 for the purpose of the demolition. So that's, why it's still, and for, I think, '25, it was still occupied for part of the year, so.
Yep.
It's just slowly, and it'll be phased out this, we'll say,
Next year.
next fiscal year.
Yep.
Move receive.
Second. Motion by Ung, seconded by Nelson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item C, Fund 9103. This is for the Trosper Hoyt Building, and this is in general basic.
Yes, so the Trosper Hoyt building indicates an overall percentage of 4.9% increase. A good portion of that change would be due to line item 44,902. I increased the repairs and maintenance line item by $25,000 over the previous due to the age of the building and simply by virtue of the repairs that we've been incurring lately. So things like this past year where we had to replace the well line going to the building, costs like that catch you off guard. Without that line item increase, that would drop that overall building down to 4.1% increase.
Can you change the page for the public, please?
I changed it on my piece of paper in front of me, that doesn't count.
Again, the utilities are the driving factor. Again, we took a 3-year average, plus 4% on all of the utilities.
I'd move to receive.
Second. Motion by Bittinger, seconded by Nelson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item D, Fund 9104. This is for the Anthon Little Courthouse.
So yeah, the Anthon Courthouse is again budgeted differently this year. We knew we have expected expenses coming forward. Those expected expenses are estimated at $32,982, and basically that amount was added to the normal budget request we have for that building, which is $2,500. So that's why you've got a 1,319% increase. Again, if we know that these costs are coming forward, it's much easier to budget for them than it is to create a CIP.
And that work encompassed, you and I worked on that, but that would be getting the sidewalk ADA compliant in the front of the building. I think, ceiling windows and doors, I think a door replacement.
Yeah, a door
ceiling work.
replacement, replacing the front stoop, sidewalks. There was some.
Like the rear door maybe too?
Yeah, door or two, brick repair on a couple sides of the building and
Yep.
caulking.
Yep.
I'll move to receive.
Second. Motion by Bittinger, seconded by Nelson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item E is Fund 9105. This is for the Prairie Hills facility.
Yes, this is for the Prairie Hills Training Center, 4.43% increase. Basically, driven a lot by just sanitation, that's trash removal, which I don't have any power over whatsoever.
Move to receive.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Dietrich. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item F, Fund 9106, the District Health Building.
Yeah, so this is Siouxland District Health. You're not seeing any increase there. This is one of those, this is an agreement that we have with Siouxland District Health, whereby building services pays any costs associated with repairs at Siouxland District Health that are $2,500 or over. And this is for an unlimited number of occurrences. And I can tell you, this does become a problem. It becomes a problem when the budget gets, when my budget gets exceeded. We had this problem last year. I'm not sure exactly how Kevin Green, the director, dealt with it, but I exceeded my budget and he had another expense. And he submitted the bill to me and I told him I can't pay it. My budget is exceeded. And I said, and he wanted to know what the options were. And I said, well, really the options are to talk to the Board of Supervisors and see what they would like to do. Now, whether he did that or not, I don't know. I don't believe he did it publicly. He may have just incurred the costs through his department. But I didn't pay the bill and I don't know how it got paid. But And the reason I bring this up is, I think, very important when we start talking about the law enforcement center and any agreements that might be made there going forward. We want to be very careful of dollar amounts and occurrences on those dollar amounts. So we don't incur a $20,000 expense 50 times a year, or whatever that might be.
So Kenny, update for that. So just 3 weeks ago, me and Joshua sat down with Kevin and Tyler there and to begin the 2080 agreement update, because it's due this January 27. And so we'll be getting with you. Joshua's going to review some things, and then we're going to get with you looking at questions regarding this various thing. So,
Okay,
yeah,
thank
so
you.
it's coming,
Yeah.
the discussion.
Thanks, Dan.
So in the meantime, we have budgeted essentially for one project that's exactly $20,000,
Or
just because we don't know what else to.
Yes, but that's what I budget for,
Yeah.
is the 20,000, and, yeah. And that's typically been the board's number that I've been allowed to use.
Okay.
Any other questions for Kenny? I would move to receive. Motion by Nelson, seconded by Ung. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item G is Fund 9108, and this is administration.
Yeah, so this is the Woodbury County Building Services Administration and Building. It shows an 11.7% increase. That is actually due to basically two different items. One is a new vehicle that was put in the budget. As Ryan indicated earlier, this year, we weren't changing the way we do vehicles. The last vehicle building service purchased was about 3 years ago, and so we do try to rotate and keep our vehicles up to date.
So is
With
it
that-
replacing that, or what vehicle would this new one be replacing, or how old is that one? 3 years? No.
I would have to look back, but I believe it would be about 2014.
Okay. It's about a 12-year-old, 12-year-old
Yeah.
vehicle. Okay.
So that, if that line item was removed, that would reduce that 11.7% increase to about 1.5%. So not much of an increase to the building really overall, or the administration's.
Yeah, we can't use CIP for vehicles anymore, so.
No.
Right.
Is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much else there.
The only other
Construction,
item-
maintenance equipment.
Yeah, the only other item that does stick out is $26,000. That would be for a brine machine. That's for applying salt brine on the sidewalks.
I move to receive.
Second, motion by Bittenger, seconded by Nelson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item H, Fund 9109. This is for the Triview facility. For those following along, this is Veteran Affairs and soon to be the county morgue.
Yeah, so this one again's kind of a one-off. You'll see that all those line items are basically increased. That's in our anticipation of expensing all the utilities out of the building services budget, Triview budget, which we typically previously have not done. Those have been expensed, whether it be social services or Rolling Hills or mental health, or whoever occupies certain areas of that building of expensing those utilities. I've talked about this with Dan, and I think a little bit with Mark, about incurring those costs now in the building services budget, similar to what we do at Triview possibly. So, And that's all I had on that. Ryan, I did include $45,000. That was initially implemented when I input this budget for a cooler for the state coroner's office. And we can talk about that amount if you like, Ryan, or it's up to your purview.
Yeah, because that is for the medical examiner, and as of now, I believe that we have that work, is that going to be completed here before the end of the fiscal year, or is that, because that cooler will be,
It'll be before the end of the fiscal year.
so that 45,000 was, I think, can be removed out of Kenny's budget and would be, is part of the medical examiner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The morgue, yeah. It's the morgue budget, yeah.
You'd like that removed?
I would say, not medical exam, it's to be the morgue, yeah, overall morgue.
So when are we going to approve that particular purchase, I guess?
We're still working on costs,
Cost, yeah,
Matthew.
we're still, yeah. That's why we haven't brought it before to the board yet, yeah.
And that, that budget will be on the 17th. I didn't have it finalized for next Tuesday's meeting, but that will be part of the 17th.
Okay.
So you're saying Ryan removed the 45?
Yes, I believe if that was for the, the cooler, then I think that will be in part of 26's expenditures.
Okay.
Yeah, because we had money sitting there in the morgue budget for that from last year.
Is the discussion on the 17th going to impact increasing this department's budget for continued expenses for the morgue? Are we going to revisit this then?
Yeah, that'll be continuing expenses on the morgue, yes.
So that this budget will probably be increased from where it is now?
On that one, because it hasn't even been, finalized yet, so.
But assuming it is.
Yes, it'll be
finalized before this budget process is done, so.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
So we would be coming back to this one.
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'll be discussed during that hearing.
okay. Well then, someone just bookmark this, this department's budget and make sure it's also on the agenda. So we just need to have a review, budget review discussion,
Yep, I'll mark it down.
Do you want to do this on the 17th then, after the morgue budget?
Well, I don't know what you guys have prepared, so if that's, if it's gonna be, if it's gonna be substantially complete as far as decisions on the 17th that the board approves, then yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, it's really just Kenny's got a pretty detailed budget, and we're just waiting on the cooler price, getting that kind of final.
Yeah, we're waiting on the cooler price final and some construction
Yeah.
specifics.
We could do it on the 17th, yeah. We should have 90% of the finalized price.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we just waited. We haven't brought it before the board yet.
Okay.
I'll move to receive minus 45,000.
Second. Motion by Ung, seconded by Nelson to receive less 45,000 for the cooler. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. And lastly, item I, Fund 9113. This is for the LEC Justice Center.
So this budget is for the new law enforcement center. 17.7% increase. And we still really don't have a really good handle on where these figures are going to go. Very difficult to budget this building right now. I say that, and I'll start with the water and sewer line item. In 2025, you'll see it was 45,858 for water and sewer. And we're budgeting 77,200. That is what I budgeted when this budget was input. Now, I believe that number may not cover it, knowing what I know today. The costs for water since August have been averaging us $7,500 to $8,000 per month. So I don't know if the $77,200 amount that I initially implemented when this budget was turned in is going to be enough. If population keeps increasing, I believe our asking number probably should be closer to $100,000, and I'd like the board to consider increasing that line item. Our population is really increasing this at amounts I guess I'm surprised to see. But and we're really not seeing it across the board in the other utilities. Water usage seems to be one of the big ones. But other than that, we do have some things that I say that makes it difficult to get this budget a handle on. We've got some things in this facility that some costs that actually haven't even been implemented yet. By that, and they're going to be expensive line items. One being chemical analysis and water treatment. We currently have not implemented any of that in the building throughout this facility. If you ask me as a preventative maintenance person, should we be? Absolutely, we should have been doing it on day one. We should be doing it now. We can't because of the ongoing difficulties that we've been having, and I've been told that I cannot change the system until we get through the problems that we're tied into and associated with. So basically this is physically changing the system. I'm going to put equipment in that water treats the inside of all the lines in the facility, and that is a major change to the way a facility operates. And basically it's considered a design change. And I've been instructed I'm not allowed to make design changes currently. So we are going to implement that just as soon as we can. And when we do, it's not going to be a cheap line item, because it's not in the other buildings that we have online right now. So,
Well, could that expense come out of the maintenance fund then? For maintaining the building then?
Yeah.
I mean, instead of coming out of your
Absolutely. Dave?
You can think about it, yeah.
I think that's a difficult question to
Right.
answer.
That can be for another day, yeah, that's fine.
Well, I mean, all I was gonna say is, yeah, I mean, if we can't do it right now anyways, it's something we should look at when we can, taking it out of the maintenance fund and look into that deeper, I guess.
Any other questions on that budget?
Do you want to increase, I think it's line item 43,200 by 22,800 up to 100,000?
Yes, I'd like to.
What's that for?
That's the water and sewer.
Oh.
I mean, I'll move to receive with the increase of 43,000, line item 43,200 of $22,800 to make it an even 100,000.
Second?
Motion by Dietrich, seconded by Bittinger, to receive with additional increase of $22,800 for water and sewer. Any more questions or comments or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries 5-0.
Look at that, we got caught up, it's 11:45, break time.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I'd
Kenny.
say that's a pretty good reflection of the chair. Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate the support as always. All right, so since we are ahead of our noon break time, I think we'll just sit here till noon. No, I'm just kidding. We will adjourn until 1 o'clock, which we will pick up with emergency services, Mr. Byer. So it's all right. We will be in recess until 1.